Whoopsie doopsie. Give me a second, chat. Need to fix the camera. Yay! Oh. It's a beautiful morning. Hope you guys are doing good. I am logging in right now. Happy to announce we have a beautiful day ahead of us. And I have another coffee date. I'm very excited. She's a cool gal. Is this working? Yes. Yes. Thanatos Jamie goes ... It's my bad. I didn't have the camera up and running. Hedonic Samuel says, what's up, dogs? What's up, man? Short says, first, true, like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got a membership, if you got it, my parasocially love you. Thank you for being here. Ransom says, there we go. Good morning, Ransom. Saldus says, good morning. Good morning, Saldus. Good to see you, King. Short says, do you have a 46 on the shelf behind you to show your love of the 46th president, Joseph R. Biden? No, that was my unit license plate for my Crown Victoria. So I used to, when I was in law enforcement, I had the distinct pleasure of being able to drive a like 20-year-old Crown Victoria with like 130,000 miles on it. And nobody else wanted it because while it's a good car, it was older. But the truth is, the maintenance on it was so good. It was actually a pretty reliable vehicle. And I'm a bigger guy. And the Crown Victoria is basically like driving around on a couch. It was amazing. So me and like if I could have bought that car, if I had an extra $5,000 to buy my Crown Victoria when it got retired, I would have bought it. But instead they let me keep the unit license plate. So big fan of the 46. So QC John says, good morning, girl hottest. May your girl stay hot, may your beer stay cold, may you keep all your fingers when blowing things up. Amen, indeed. Jonah says, good morning, everyone. Good to see you, Jonah. Horse God says, dongers out if you love grilling. True. Airborne Kite says, like the stream or the likes goblin will give you insomnia. True. Conserve says, 6 like reporting in. Remember, ladies and gents, live chat is better than top chat. I already switched to live chat because of your consistency with stating that live chat is better than top chat. I have become a live chat advocate. Good morning, Grassroots. Good to see you, King. So we do have a little bit of a beautiful day ahead of us. I'm debating things. I have things to do, but I want to, I'm balancing my priorities this afternoon and evening. So I wish I could get a haircut. Matter of fact, that I know what I'm doing. I might be cheating today. Runner says payday for $10. Yes, thank you. I think it's going to be my payday too. I'm expecting an email from Google at any point saying your funds have been deposited. So I'll be excited for that. Yeah. Let's. Am I allowed to share? Am I allowed to overshare what's going on right now? So the Brazilian girl and I we're still texting, we're friends or whatever, but I think it's, I kind of just being real. I know that she's not my future wife, so we're just kind of friendly, but we're vibing. I am going. There's a girl who is a software engineer from Moldova. She's around my age. She's very pretty, and I'm going to. She lives north of Tampa. So it is kind of a drive, it's like an hour and 20 minutes in order to get out to her. But she's very pretty, she's very smart, she knows how to banter, she's super funny. So I think I'm going out this afternoon in order to get coffee or tea or dinner with a Moldovan woman, software engineer, beautiful, who likes to banter. So that's the plan. I'm very excited about it. I know you guys like it where you're like, stop telling us. Stop telling us. You're jinxing it. You're jinxing your own love life. But sorry, when I get to take out a beautiful software engineer, then I'm excited. It's excited. This is my unpaid day. I'm sorry. Yeah. Eastern European software engineers are beyond cracked. Stay safe, bro. I think I'll be all right. I think Brazilian women have more of a reputation for tearing out your vital organs in order to sell on the black market than Eastern European software engineers. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Officer Nasty says, what's up, King? Good morning. Same old same. You know, I woke up today having a pretty good day. I was thinking about trying to milk Nux Taku, but I checked out the first 5 minutes of the content and I was like, God, this guy sucks. Like, he just sucks. It's just pandering, annoying talking points wrapped around current events and news. And his metrics are good. Like, you know, obviously getting 50,000 to 100,000 routinely is pretty good, but he also has a very large channel. I think he has a lot of dead subs. And so, you know, it's like, do I really want to milk this dipshit? And then I was like, no. Brad Palumbo has me. I checked out Brad's channel. Brad has allegedly some aftermath from the College Democrats of America event with Hasan. So I want to see what the public fallout that Brad is aware of, in order to see if there's anything there worth sinking our teeth into, since I do find it wild. I'm not going to lie. I do find it wild that the College Democrats of America, the vice president was wearing a keffiyeh, kicking out a liberal creator, and then a dude dressed up as Mao Zedong delivered a left-wing economic populist message, which got like roaring applause from the audience. I do think that's kind of crazy. Yeah. And then so I want to keep track of that. And then what was the other thing? Oh, Andrew Tate getting arrested. Brad Palumbo covered that, and I figured we could just meme along. I'm happy the Tates are getting arrested. You know, they've been sex trafficking, domestic abusive, fucking red pill internet sacks of shit for a half decade now. The Romanian police case kind of like stalled in the evidence gathering and prosecution phase. I think the Romanians could have gotten them, but I think the American diplomatic corps pressed them into releasing the Tates. And so that's why the Tates haven't been prosecuted and convicted in Romania. But I do hope the United Kingdoms take a crack at it and basically get their conviction. That would be great. So, I'm excited. Bro, chill on the wife and enjoy the flow of everything. No, I'm looking for my future wife. I'm an old man. I want somebody to snuggle and scratch their back and, you know, listen to them bitch about their life and have them listen to me bitching about their lives. Honestly, like, yeah, sex is great. Like, I'm not complaining about sex. Sex is awesome, but like, that's one of my serious motivations for a relationship, but it's not my primary motivation. Caring about like just sex is a 20-year-old man's game. It's not, you should care about more than just sex, in my opinion. Yeah. Eastern European software engineer beyond crack. Can she be our girlfriend? Probably not, but I'm not a good sharer. Ransom says, fuck that, good on you and have fun. Thank you, Ransom, I appreciate you. Randy Chang says, good morning, nerds, good morning. Jonah, oh, speaking of which, I worked up the nerve to ask out my work crush the other day, and she said, yes, she's a beautiful, beautiful girl, and I'm getting nervous, excited. Good, man. Good. Jonah, I'm proud of you. Fucking good for you for fucking working up the nerves in order to do that. And then also, like, take it chill. If I had to give any advice to my younger self prior to getting married, and it's advice that I kind of take to heart now, it's like women will be attracted to who they're attracted to. right? They can get the ick at any point, and realistically, women get ick for weird reasons, and then the relationship doesn't work for whatever. But what I would say is a counter ick strategy and a long-term relationship foundation is being good friends, right? And what I mean by that is like genuinely get to know her, genuinely take an interest in what she's interested in, talk to her about her life, talk to her about her friends, talk to her about her family, talk to her about this, that, the other. Because when you only have sex, it's, you know, there's more things that can kind of go wrong within the dynamics of the relationship. But if you have a solid basis of friendship and you have sex, that's typically a decent foundation for a longer term relationship. You don't want to get friend zoned, so you don't want to be too friend coded, but you don't want to be so monomaniacally focused on sex that you don't build a relationship outside of the physical. So, but dude, I'm proud of you. Good job. Catfish by former long-term viewer LB, dude. Yeah, LB with a vengeance. She comes back a year later just to fucking pretend to be an Eastern European chick from Tampa just to make me drive an hour and then fucking catfish me at the last second and be like, gotcha, bitch. You should have been more leftist. Grid One Motorsports, good to see you, King. Hey, Vince Wilson, see you in Dallas, my man. Happy to have you debating. Good. I'm happy the debate bros are getting together. Salda says, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying focus on the present and stop obsessing over the future. No, of course not. The future is for those who seize it. Connor talking about it, keep it chill. True. Don't try to impress, just have fun. No. She kind of looks like Missandra from Game of Thrones, the Khaleesi's advisor, if you watch the show. Hell yeah. What, she's a mixed chick with frizzy hair? That's fucking dope. Missandei was fine. Missandei was fine as fuck. I kind of know that I'm like a little... Okay, there are black women who are beautiful and, you know, they're like black, like very dark. But I do find myself to be kind of a colorist where unless they're effectively like a Ethiopian or Bantu supermodel, you know, like skinny, black, and beautiful, then the other kind of black women that I'm into are mixed chicks like Missandei. So I think I'm a little subconsciously like colorist, where light-skinned black chicks are pretty fucking hot. Andrew Tate is a predator, and I'm glad he's in jail. Dudes who beat women, BDSM or not, should not coward energy. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Fuck him. Dude, he is long overdue for what's coming to him. So I'm hoping that the UK justice system is capable of delivering a just outcome based off of the available evidence. Airborne Kite says 90% of the ick is I cannot picture this man chopping down a tree. It's not complicated. True. Cultivate and maintain your capacity to chop down a tree. Grid says married 20 years, not sure what the secret is other than never going to bed angry with each other. Yeah. I would say a friend recommended a relationship book. It was like 7 principles for a happy marriage or something. And they basically said like, this book has helped me in all my relationships, so you should check it out. Unfortunately, I've checked it out. I've gotten like the first 2 chapters done. And like the advice so far is like wildly predictable, but it's also based on organic chemistry. And I don't mean organic chemistry as in like atoms and molecules that make up organisms. I mean like chemistry that you can't fake. That was like the greatest predictor for a relationship success, according to this psychologist and their scientific analysis of relationships. And what they were saying, like the first chapter was, it's like, they call it like know your love maps or something like that. But basically they said that fighting is not a predictor for whether or not a couple sticks together. Like almost all couples fight at some point in their relationship. That's not the predictor. What the predictor is do you have a genuine interest in the interior life of your partner? And do they have a genuine interest in your interior life? So like, what's your fears? What's your anxieties? What's your ambitions? What's your dreams? You know, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? What's your fantasy? What would you do if you won the lottery? How many kids do you want? How many dogs do you want? Do you want to volunteer? Do you not want to volunteer? Like all of that shit, all of that like really small, tiny shit is necessary in order to like a sincere interest in the internal experience of your partner is a greater predictor of like a long-term relationship succeeding than any, according to this book, almost any other factor. Which is funny because oftentimes women, no, this is going to be very misogynist. Women can be incredibly like externally beautiful and nice and kind and all that kind of stuff, but sometimes their internal world is a little bit dull. You know, they're not interested in that many things. They're not interested in the same things. They don't have the level of autism that I do. And so as a result, if a woman is beautiful and a woman is kind and a woman has like good morals, I've dated those kind of women in the past and I've had a really good time. But I didn't necessarily take a huge interest in their personal life or their personal outward worldview because it was kind of dull. So, no offense to the dumb but beautiful women that I've dated in my past. Tate was arrested in an outfit that local Karens in my district school board wear. Yeah, based. Based. Sorry. Got another text message. Good text message. What's the lineup for today's content? We doing Tate stuff primarily? No, not primarily. We're going to do the... Brad Palumbo has 2 videos. I like Brad Palumbo. I was thinking about milking Nux Taku, Asmongold, or Tectone, but then I realized that I hated those guys. So I figured what we could do is use Brad Palumbo as a vehicle in order to check out the aftermath from the College Democrats of America event, then check out the Andrew Tate arrest, and then we could do geopolitics. That's my plan. So, I mean, if you guys have a better plan, feel free to type it in chat. I think I have to get back into the debate scene. Number one, because some community members who joined our community, they kind of came over for the debate stuff, and I haven't been engaging with it anywhere near as much as I used to. But number two, no one's really making consistent debate content. And I think that's kind of like a disservice to the space. Back in the day, Vosh was making consistent debate content. Destiny was making consistent debate content. I don't think Hasan ever really did. But then Dylan Burns was hosting the panels that was making consistent debate content. And so as a result, there was always something going on. This person, this is versus this person on this topic. There was always like 3 or 4 of those a week. And now I feel like because Dylan Burns left the scene, Vosh went into his Fortress arc, and then Destiny, he, you know, basically is in his little island because of his personal dramas. I just don't think there's as much. There's still, it's out there, but it's just not as much as it used to be, which sucks. So, Airborne Kite, thanks for the renewal, King. Appreciate you. Vince Wilson, 7 Pillars of Wisdom. True. Me and my wife fight a lot, but we view ourselves as life partners trying to help further each other's goals. And every now and then, amidst the chaos, we can see how much we both do for each other. See, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's exact. In my opinion, that's exactly how it should be. I'm a lone wolf. Ah, woo. All right. Thanks, Caramel Cold Brew. Appreciate you. I can't post the link, but look around. It's easy to find. What, the modern day debates? Horse God, my event is Friday at 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Constant IRL debates, great venue, lots of fun. Yeah, Grid One Motorsports. If you want to DM me on Discord, send me the link to your event. and I'll post it in the chat for any Texas or Texas adjacent people. Literally send it to me in a direct message and I'll post it in the chat for people to check out. I would love to help promote IRL shit too. So, Lone Wolf, woo. Is Connor still afraid to answer why he supports filth, the subhuman gaze? Isn't that so funny? Isn't that so funny that literally I'm being called a homophobe by DGG because I called Destiny and Rob Nor the F slur. And so they're trying to get me fired from my job for being a homophobe. And then literally I have a Christian nationalist in my chat yelling at me because I'm too friendly to the gays. It is truly bewildering. Why can't I be friendly to the gays in general, but still use the F slur against Rob Nor and Destiny? I feel like that's fair. Okay? I feel like that's fair. The trick when it doesn't work out with a woman is to be temporarily gayer out of spite. I think I've done that subconsciously. I don't think that was conscious. I think I did that reflexively. Oh my god. That is funny. That is mad funny. Clean up on aisle 3. I got him. Yes, but she's curious about you, basically interested in your thoughts, your desires, your goals, your fears, etc. That's what I mean. Yeah. That's that was their number one predictor. They hyped it up, and then it seemed incredibly obvious once they stated it, which is effectively just like taking a sincere interest in your partner's well-being and their internal life experience, and then them taking that same interest in you is like the number one predictor for the long-term success of a relationship. It's basically like extreme empathy for your partner is like the number one predictor for long-term relational success. Yeah, every debate Connor seems to find ends up being against a mentally unstable person. I mean, that's just true of Twitch and YouTube politics. Free speech isn't spamming slurs like a moron, by the way. Well, to me it is. Vince Wilson says Hasan actually did a debate on Mindwave's panel several years ago. I know. Don't you miss the good old days? Why can't I get demonetized and stuck? Aren't you pro free speech? Well, I mean, that's me. What did I miss? Not much. There's just a guy who hates gay people in the chat, but I got him. Censored isn't putting it into 2 messages. I was away from keyboard. Sorry, Connor. It's all good. Crash out nationalist true. Connor has a real job now? No? Like, listen, guys. Listen, I love Twitch and YouTube politics. I love being a YouTuber, but I will never consider this like a real job until we have like a production studio and like 40 hours a week and all that shit. Then I'll consider this a job. But talking for 25 hours a week with Twitch and YouTube political autists about current events and news, this is in my, I'm not trying, I am degrading my own work, but this is not a real job to me. This is not a real job to me. A real job to me is something that you should dread in the morning. A real job is something that you roll out of bed and you're like, how long would my savings last me if I just didn't show up? How long could I live on my credit card if I just didn't show up? And that's a real job. It's not that you can't love certain jobs. Like I loved being a cop, you know, I loved being a cop. I was excited to go to work, but towards the end there, you know, the first year and a half was a honeymoon phase. The year after that was okay. But the last year of work, I was doing the math of like, how long can I survive on a credit card? And the answer was not very long. Uh, I mean, to some degree, but my wife has been very honest with me that she married me because I make her feel safe, provide the rock for her emotions to crash on, and support her when she, in what she attempts. Yeah, there you go. That's still the good basis. Svalin says, to be fair, Connor, I don't think you're a homophobe, but would you apply that for any other slur? Yeah. Yeah, yes. Yes. If I could, let's say there was no negative social consequence for saying or professional consequence for saying the N-word with an A routinely. I would be using the N-word with an A all the time. And it's not because like I would be using it in a derogatory way. I would be using it the way that my friends used it, which is basically like you could use motherfucker the same way, right? You know, like motherfucker, you know, like motherfucker, please. You know, you could use ninja the same way. So yeah, I would use ninja all the time. I wouldn't use it derogatorily, but I would use it all the time. So yes, I am very pro slurs. Very pro slurs. Completely understandable. Christian nationalists are morons. The world would be a better place if all homophobes were phobic like Connor is. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. If all the homophobes use the F slur, but they were actually chill with gay people, the world would still be an infinitely better place. So, Airborne Kite says 7 Pillars of Wisdom is Lawrence of Arabia's biography. I guess you could use it as a source for relationship advice as long as you aren't dating an Ottoman Turk. True. True. Wasn't Lawrence of Arabia either asexual or suspected homosexual? I think he might have been one of the greatest asexual warriors of history. Twitch and YouTube politics tends to be a self-selecting group for the mentally ill. True. But I honestly do not need her support in my endeavors. I need her support when I question myself. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Men and women don't necessarily need the same kinds of support. It's true. It would actually be kind of funny to watch those debates and see how they compare to now. Yeah. Who was it? It was, I think it's Well QC John. He's encouraged, and eventually we should. He wants me to go through my debate archive. Like, go find the debates that I used to do against Demon Mama and watch me crash out against Demon Mama. I do think that that content would be funny as shit. I don't think it would be good metrically, but I do think it would be very funny. I posted the link to your Discord. Okay, here we go. All right, so guys, I'm not sure if I fully paid attention to what was being said, but Grid One Motorsports is a sensible right-wing guy who successfully ran a few businesses, and he's not necessarily like a Giga Crucible guy, but you know, he's friendly with Andrew Wilson and kind of hangs out with those guys sometimes. And he's running, I think, an IRL debate event in Texas. And eventbrite.com/link under the Counterpoints Politics name. I just posted it. It should be in the top half dozen recent chats. If you're in the Texas, if you're in Dallas or Austin or Plano or Flower Mound or fucking San Antonio, or if you're in Oklahoma and you're close, or you're in not Alabama. What's the next one over? I forget. Anyways, is it Mississippi? Is it Mississippi or Louisiana that's immediately to the east of Texas? I forget. Anyways, if you're in the area, go support IRL, Twitch and YouTube political debate events because it's good for the community. God, I miss the Mind Waves and Prime Kai panels. I know, they're so classic. They're so classic. Rob Go Slow says, did my joke get deleted? I didn't delete it. I didn't delete it. I only love my mom and my bed. I'm sorry. That's okay, Caramel Cold Brew. Dude, back when the breakup and the divorce were kind of hitting me super hard, I was like praying for asexuality. I was like, dude, I would love to not have the compulsion to be around women. Are you kidding me? If I could literally like wake up, come do the stream, work out, hang out with my dogs, take them for a walk, work on my personal work, and then go to bed, I would be an infinitely more productive and sane human being. But God has given me this undeniable compulsion to seek the affection of women. And it's like this overriding subconscious impulse. And I wish I could ignore it, but I can't. I like being liked by women. You know, it sucks. I wish I could be a asexual hermit. Fashion 40 for 5 says Trump. Oh, sorry. Though I'm glad I got this job, but my God, I'm dreading this fucking job. Exactly. See, if that's your actual sincere emotion, that's how I know Fashion 40 has a real job, which is, thank God I'm able to pay my bills. Thank God I'm able to be productive in this society. Thank God I'm able to pursue my financial ambitions. However, fuck this job. Vince Wilson says the video I just posted in your Discord has Destiny, Hasan, the Surfs, Pixie, Irrelevant on a Mind Waves panel. What a fucking classic. What a banger. I'm not going to watch that today, but, you know, that was peak Twitch and YouTube politics, in my opinion. Can a ninja borrow a French fry? How can you borrow a French fry? Are you going to give it back? So true. So true. Kazra says everybody uses it here. True, good. What, everybody in Iran uses NIGGA? That's crazy. I didn't know that about Iran. Rob says, I don't know, there's probably more Connors throwing cover for the real homophobes than there are actually homophobic people, at least in our country. Well, Officer Nasty for 2 says, can a young ninja catch a vibe, please? Yes, yes. Honestly, they need to remake that movie and dial up the flamboyance because it doesn't register the way it did before. Which one? Which one? Are you talking about Blazing Saddles? The Crucible people hate Grid now? Grid, what did you do? You used to be a Crucibleite. What happened? I demand the Goon Squad debate. True. Okay. Doobie, how about you get with Well QC John? You guys come up with, like, you know, $50, $100, somewhere in there. And then that amount of oil for an afternoon. Whenever you guys give like $50 or $100 and you're like, hey, we demand a retrospective debate. We want Demon Mama versus Counterpoints. We want Doobie Counterpoints Goon Squad debate for $50. Yeah, I'll do that 100%. So I will 100% do for a little bit of oil, for a reasonable amount of oil, I will 100% do retrospective debates. If Nick Fuentes can avoid women, you can too. You know what's crazy is watching Nick Fuentes go on the red pill debate and then watching all the hoes like thirst after him because he's so clearly repulsed by them. That shit is so funny because he's like, no thanks. No thanks. No thanks. And then you have all these like Miami Instagram model sluts trying to convince him to hook up with them. It's actually really funny. Connor has a dad hole. I have a God hole. You know, I partially believe in God, so part of my God hole is empty. And I'm trying to fill it with the love and affection of women. God, I miss Relly. Relly's a good egg. You know, I'm sure Relly probably reduced his estimation of me after he left the DGG orbit and I kind of stuck around. But I've always had a high opinion of Relly. Being a young mixed race black man willing to work out and not be a total slut while doing moderate political commentary and cultural commentary, I always respected Relly. I just don't like liars, so I can't be friends with Easy. Got you. Okay, fair enough. Sorry. Can't be friends with Easy. Relly was cool. It's the worst, better than the other shit I was doing, but fuck. Don't know what that means. Yeah, saying slurs is cool and all, but can we talk about how frack is one of the best fictional curses ever invented? Absolutely. So crap. I don't know if you heard of frack from. Do they use that in Battlestar Galactica, the 2000 series? I'm pretty sure if they do, they also use it in the Gaunt's Ghosts book series by Dan Abnett. And the truth is that like frack, after a long time, I started like fracking reading frack similar to the way that I would read fuck. Like I actually like it subconsciously processed as a curse word, and it was great. I fucking loved it. I love frack. I'm still hanging out with the Crucible boys. Good. You missed my message. Throw conservative liberalism a mod. We need another man on the line. Okay. Next, there he is. Wait. Yeah, next time conservative liberalism talks in chat, I'll give him a mod. I'm being cheeky against the Crucible, but it might be true. I don't know. Lol. Well, you know, there's always beefs within sub communities, right? So, for instance, Queeman and Chud Logic have Stylo, who's a black gentleman who is horrifically antisocial to everyone. So he's antisocial to the creators, he's antisocial to community members, he's antisocial to guests, he's antisocial to everybody. But he's such a beloved facet of the community that he has kind of an entrenched position, I think, within that space. So he's never getting kicked out, but there will be other people who kind of come into the space and they beef with Stylo because he's so antisocial and hostile. So I think that's very normal. I think that's very normal for communities to have inter-community beef. Similar to snarkers and anti-snarkers. So Owlish dropping by every now and then and throwing elbows with Officer Nasty and Doobie. Jen Winkler in Doobie. Realistically, everybody in Doobie. They all got beef, bro. Airborne Kite says Lawrence of Arabia seemed extremely gay to audiences when the movie came out, but now he just seems British and confused. Based. Has Shuan had ever done debates? Yeah. Yeah, she did. It was actually really funny. I was there for one. So she was on Vosh's team, and it would have made sense for her to back up Vosh in the argumentation, but she just got like a shitposty troll vibe in her voice, and then she started fighting her own team, and it was awesome. She only did like 2 though. I think there was one Dylan Burns panel that she went on that I wasn't on, and then she went on one Dylan Burns panel that I was on, and it was classic. It was fire. It was good content. Connor related the disdain I have for the job. Yes. And dude, it's because I've done it before, man. Like I have been privileged, extremely privileged, to have done content creation full time for a year, and it's July, and I started in April. So May, June, July. I've been doing content creation full time for a year and 3 months, and I am extremely privileged to have done so. I think I said this at the 3-month and 6-month mark. If all my Oilers disappeared, let's say that Doobie, Grassroots, and all the chippers, they all disappear. I start making $2 a stream. Then of course I'm going to have to go get a different job, right? It's just the nature of the beast. I have to pay my bills. But I would have considered myself extremely privileged to have done this for a year and 3 months, and I've been able to pay my bills for a year and 3 months. A lot of people don't get this opportunity. Like 99% of people who do content creation don't even fucking make money doing it. And then out of the people who make money doing it, most of them only make a few bucks. So, you know, I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. Like, obviously, I want everything. I want to be a bigger creator. I want to make more money. I want to be able to, you know, make a surgeon's salary talking shit on the internet. But yeah, dude, I'm extremely privileged. I'll remind on Valor tomorrow too. Cool. Literally next time there he is. I see him. Add as moderator, standard moderator. Conservative liberalism is now a moderator on this chat. Darius is so fucking funny when he's with other witty people. He can be, for sure. Remember in Firefly Serenity, they'd say "Garamit" instead of "God damn it." I do. I also love. I kind of hated it at first because I'm a xenophobe. I'm a little bit hostile to China. But one of the things that I find incredibly interesting about Serenity and Firefly is their blend of Chinese and English. So they'll like curse in Chinese randomly. It's awesome. I love it. Oh. Blah, 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 blah. We need people to snark the snarkers. Well, there's plenty of people doing that. Owlishness is my queen. True. Be honest, you're addicted to the streamer life. If this doesn't work out, you're going straight to OnlyFans. Maybe. I have been I have been taking workout pictures. I do have a backlog of shirtless selfies in the gym bathroom. What would your real job be? Two things. Number one, if I literally needed a job tomorrow, I would probably go back to construction administration because it was easy. I'm still friendly with my old job. I did okay at it. So I'd probably just go do construction administration. It makes a decent wage. Also, while I'm there, you can literally script. Like, I was on the phone calling insurance companies, harassing them in order to pay out on construction jobs that had already been completed. And I was able to, like, type scripts while I was working. So that job would be super fucking easy if I wanted to continue to side hustle YouTube pre-recorded content instead of live content. And then the other thing that I would strongly consider is history teacher. Actually going to middle school or high school and being a public education history teacher. I would strongly consider that as well. I had a couple of history teachers that I loved. Mr. Hermade, Mr. King, and Monsieur Lefay. And they were all awesome. They were good dudes, and they had huge impacts on the way that I perceived the world. So I would love to have a similar impact on the youths of America by teaching them history. Jonas is going to dip out for a bit for the job interview. Wish me luck. Good luck, Jonah. I hope you fucking nail it. I hope you kill it. My wife is Chinese. I've done some blending myself. Awesome. Yeah. All right. What job would you do if you couldn't do your current job? As a nice conversational Swiss Army knife. You can just throw it out there whenever. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, my dream job is being a history teacher, but it doesn't pay anything. I know, but I only need like, because I have the GI Bill, or not the GI Bill, I have the VA basically giving me $1,600 a month for stuff. I need to get my neck and shoulder added to it. But because of that, my mortgage is pretty much taken care of. So with my mortgage taken care of, I only need like $5,000 a month. And so basically like a history job, if I was making 40 or 50 a year and I could still work during the summers, I could literally stream during the summers. I could side hustle Warhammer 40K and I could make enough money to survive. So I would be an astronaut, veterinarian, army man. True. Why are PE teachers also history teachers? Because history teacher, okay, I know the answer to this question. So PE, there's only so many periods that have PE. They knock out all their classes in the mornings, I think. And so they do history in the afternoons, but history is considered a soft topic and it doesn't test as hard as like English and math. So being an English teacher is actually probably one of the hardest jobs in the American public school system, because not only do you have to assign reading, assign essays, all that kind of bullshit, but you also have to like check everybody's shit. Although I guess AI is probably going to help a lot. So what's funny is the kids are probably cheating by feeding their essays to AI machines, and the teachers are probably cheating by using AI to check their work. So English teacher might have actually become an easier job in the past 5 years. But 10 years ago, 20 years ago, since PE was only part-time hours, they would either have them be like admin. They would be like administrative deans to make up the rest of their hours to get full-time pay, or they would make them history teachers. Because once again, history is like a softer subject. History and English teachers are always the most divorced motherfuckers. I'm laughing so hard because I think it's true. Mr. Hermade was like in his late 30s, early 40s, and he was like a former restaurant and club owner, club promoter, partier guy. He was single. And Mr. King, I think, was unhappily married. And then Mr. LeFay was not married because he was such an abrasive dude. That's funny. That's funny that literally you're like, history teachers are the most divorced motherfuckers, and 2 out of 3 of them were single or divorced. Damn, nameless henchman. Damn. Way to malign an entire profession. Holy shit, that is funny. Bazraka! Thank you for the gifted. Thank you for the gifted. We'll start content in a minute. I'm just having fun hanging out with you guys. I'm just having fun. My history teacher sucked. He just wanted to work in the school district so he could coach football. Yeah. But see, that's not the kind of guy I would want to be. I would actually want to be like a history teacher where I'm like, let's dig into this and let's think about like, what would we do if we were alive at that time? You know, statistically, we would be more likely to be peasants than we would be, you know, kings. And let's think about like the economic dynamics and social stratification. And, you know, if you were a slave in ancient Egypt, would you rebel or would you just go with it? You know, like that kind of thing. So I would love to do that shit. Rob says the kids have to write on Google Docs now, and their paper process is recorded and analyzed for authenticity. Ooh, interesting. Connor, you were forgetting the worst part of teaching in most states. Prior to your lesson, for every single lesson, you must submit a state guideline-backed lesson plan. Yeah, I think that's incredibly limiting, Officer Nasty. And I've heard a lot of teacher friends hate that process. But I think that I'm creative enough that I would actually enjoy the process of skirting the line between state guidance and creativity that actually gets my students, you know, their brains working. I think that would actually be fun to me, or funny to me. Airborne Kite says, my chemistry teacher did a chemistry degree, then got a PE teaching cert at night school so he could legally teach. Fucking hated that guy. Well, fuck that guy then. Just a Chinese history teacher. You just need to go up to the 1900s and then stop. Yeah. I did take Chinese history in college, and I do think we did go all the way up into the modern era, but I do think it did get vaguer. It was super vague in the imperial period, then it was wildly specific during the revolutionary period and the Mao Zedong period, and then it got vague again after Mao Zedong. So, weirdly enough, I agree with you that I don't know if you're implying that I would need to get like more specific education on recent Chinese history, but yeah, I think I would. It's why I would quit for a while. It's actually brain breaking. You can find states that give you way more freedom. Nice. Kazra says this is kind of history class. Sometimes. Yeah, extra credit for history mind map participation. True. If you do come into class with a Microsoft Paint drawing articulating a interesting and nuanced historical topic, I will give you an extra 5 points on your quiz or test. All right, hold on. I'm getting an important text message. Fancy is this place? I planned on black t-shirt and jeans, but I can dress up fancy if it's a fancy pants place. I don't know. My software engineer girlfriend friend, how fancy? I guess I should Google how fancy this restaurant is. Let me Google how fancy this restaurant is. Sorry. This is important. Oh, shit. So apparently, Heights Public Market, we can be casual, but apparently the rooftop. Oh, damn. Dude, I asked this chick for a fucking coffee date, and apparently she's asking me to go to a fancy. Oh shit, I gotta do some laundry. I Googled armature. I haven't been before. I can throw on dress clothes if you want to go up top. Sorry. I wanna be impressive. Sounds like we need another Israel debate to bait Doobie into dropping cheddar. True. Anyways, all right, you guys ready for some content? Let's do some content. All right. Let me thank the people who have donated so far. We got a few donations. Here we go. And I did get paid as well, so I can temporarily afford my Moldovan Eastern European software engineer girlfriend. Temporarily. Fell Runner, thank you for the 10. Airborne Kite, thank you for the renewal. Fashion 40 with the 5. Officer Nasty with the 2. Doobie with the 10. Vazraka with the gifted. Thank you, kings and queens. Number 1, it is Tuesday. I get a higher share of revenue today, so if you have any oil or chips, they are greatly appreciated. Additionally, I am trying to date a Moldovan software engineer who is very, very, very pretty. And instead of going to Starbucks for a $20 coffee date, she has invited me to a swanky place in downtown Tampa. So if you have any sympathy for me whatsoever, trying to be charming and seductive with a Moldovan software engineer, please donate. Anyways. I guess if you don't have any sympathy, you can just refund your previous donations. All right, let's go. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican, and I'm trying to be a rhino. I'm trying to be a Republican who is honest, has integrity, nuance, and objectives. And today we're going to be taking a look at the aftermath of the insane speech that Hasan Piker gave at the College Democrats of America. Now, the speech itself, if you actually look at its content, was not that crazy. It was just like economic, populist, social democratic, anti-establishment slop, which is fine. You know, that's kind of our political moment. But what was wild about it was he did a few dog whistles for socialism and communism to roaring applause from the audience while he was dressed as Mao Zedong, okay? Simultaneous to this College Democrats of America event, the streamer Destiny, Stephen Bennell II, attempted to gain entry to the CDA event and he was booted out by a vice president of the organization wearing a keffiyeh. So, kind of wild, kind of insane that the College Democrats of America invited a dude dressed as Mao Zedong to be the opening speech of their event to roaring applause while he dog whistled about socialism and communism. So, Brad Palumbo, another centrist, independent, right-leaning guy, he is covering the aftermath of this event. Let's take a look.
Need those Democrats anymore. We are coming. We are unbossed. We're unbought. We're unbound. And we will become undeniable.
Hasan Piker just pulled a stunt that's so crazy and so insulting, even many progressives are calling him out. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, your home for independent analysis and commentary on politics, media, the internet, and more. We're going to check back in with Hasan Piker, the far-left socialist streamer turned activist, because he was just, bizarrely enough, invited to speak to the College Democrats of America. And the reason I say that that's bizarre, you know, they're the college branch of the Democrats, representing youth in the Democratic Party and empowering the next generation of Democrats. That's their bio. He was just invited to speak to a group of the Democrats. And the reason I call that bizarre is because Hasan is so far left that all he seems to typically do is bash the Democrats. And in fact, he told his audience that Kamala Harris would be basically the same as Donald Trump. So he wasn't exactly, you know, rallying behind the cause or supporting the party last time in the last key election. And yet, even though he's been so vitriolic towards the Democrats, he's now invited to speak to them. And he decided to mostly bash Democrats, and then also, I don't think I'm reaching here, dress up like Chairman Mao. At least that's my read on his outfit. We'll get into that and some of the pushback he's getting even from progressive activists. Anyway, let's watch a clip from his speech.
No more to Trumpism, but no more to the Democrats who compromise, who conciliate, and who betray us. No more to the fascist reactionaries, but no more to the Democrats who will collaborate and cooperate with the fascists, who will fund ICE, who will fund Israel, who will help poison the planet.
Sorry, did he just suggest that if you fund ICE, so if you're a Democrat who has at any point voted to have or not even border, internal enforcement of immigration, right? Even just to deport dangerous people, deport criminal aliens or murderers, that makes you a fascist collaborator? I'm sorry, but at that point, that means nothing. You're watering down that accusation to the point of nothingness. This is basically a widespread view that's not remotely authoritarian or far right, that you need to have a federal law enforcement agency enforcing immigration law and removing dangerous people from your country. Now, that's not the same thing as supporting kind of the over-the-top crackdown and a lot of the controversies related to ICE under the Trump administration, but he's just blasting Democrats who voted to fund ICE ever, at all, to any extent, as fascism enablers, and yet he is invited and welcomed in at the College Democrats of America. It's like, but you're such a bad faith critic of even the party you're there speaking to, and yet the audience loves you and cheers. It just does not make sense to me.
Uh-oh. I love Brad. And I think Brad is in the unenviable position that I find myself in of trying to articulate sanity to a increasingly hostile internet audience that does not want sanity. They want zealotry. And so as a result, you know, I'm of course with Brad, which is deportation enforcement against really bad people is perfectly fine and no one should give a shit. But as Officer Nasty points out, yes, Brad, most young liberals don't like ICE. That's not why they're saying it. Yes. There is a popular anti-ICE sentiment based off of the homicides, based off of the mass deportation operations, based off of the violations of the 4th, 8th, and 14th Amendment that has made them wildly unpopular with younger liberals. So, That is the crux of the frustration. Now, Jakes for $10 says, thank you for always being a scholar and a gentleman. Skip the date, probably not worth your time. I will not be skipping the date. I will go get my organs harvested by young, beautiful women. And I will continue to go out with young, beautiful women until my organs are harvested. Thank you for the donation, though. Now, somebody pointed this out, and I thought it was quite funny, that the last little bit of Hasan Piker's speech reminded them of Dwight Schrute's speech to the paper salesman of Eastern Pennsylvania. So I'm just going to play you a little 30-second clip of that.
As a child, when we realized that the world could be conquered, it has been a lifetime struggle, a never-ending fight, I say to you, and you will understand that it is a privilege to fight. We are warriors!
Michael Scott looking around. That's Brad Palumbo and me. We're both sitting in the CDA thing, and fucking Hasan Piker is slamming his fists on the desk, and he's like, freedom comes from the barrel of a gun. And like the fucking college Democrats are like, woo! Fucking Brad Palumbo and I are sitting in the audience just looking around. Classic.
But it tells you something bleak about the future of this party. I will say that. Anyway, let's finish the clip here. And we need to talk about this outfit, because what the heck is he wearing? And am I right that he's trying to cosplay Chairman Mao? I kind of think he is.
Who will stiff workers and help bosses. We don't need those Democrats anymore.
By which he means all non-ultra leftists.
No, we have a message. We are coming. We are unbossed. We're unbought. We're unbowed. And we will become undeniable. Thank you.
Guys. Listen, the right wing obviously has problems. I'm not saying that they don't have problems. They, of course, have problems. The Trump cult is fucked up. Not only is the Trump cult fucked up, it's done lasting damage to our social institutions. J.D. Vance carrying water for the Trump administration has been repulsive and vile. Marco Rubio doing whatever he can within the administration to simultaneously show some level of competency while leveraging his connections with the administration to be the future of the Republican Party is also morally dubious and to some degree repulsive. But I gotta say, the Democratic Party, if the right wing has a chud uncle and steroid problem, then the left wing has like a female and effeminate men problem. Okay. And what I mean by that is we got two ladies with red and purple dyed hair. We got 4 females. And we have two soft boy fucking males doing a standing ovation for the Mao Zedong speech. Okay? You guys got a soft revolutionary problem. I'm thinking of do you guys remember the Twitter compilation where it's like, comrades, if you're a revolutionary, do you have a gun? And if you don't, why don't you? And then it's a bunch of like Twitter, Tumblr fucking people saying that they have mental health disorders where they're worried that if they ever purchased a firearm, they would use it on themselves instead of on the capitalist pigs. This is very emotionally reminiscent of that. Now, I think this is Sapien Green for 100 DKK. You should go on the date. Here's my contribution. I'm not going to do that, Sapient Green. I'll use more sanitized language. Urinate on her leg to show dominance. No.
So I'm not the only one who found this very strange. I'll read you a Twitter thread here from Shannon Watts. She points out that Hasan is dressed like Mao and talking about how much he hates the majority of Democrats as an invited guest of College Dem. She says, our party having a normal one. She then says, before plagiarizing Shirley Chisholm, Piker says, we don't need those Democrats anymore, meaning anyone who isn't a socialist. He is a dangerous, hateful extremist, and anyone campaigning with him, including El Sayed, should be held accountable by voters. Then she points out this clip of him about Mao Zedong and mentions that Mao Zedong's rule in China caused 40 million deaths through policies like the Great Leap Forward and the Cultural Revolution, making it one of the deadliest regimes in modern history. Now, Shannon's thread has gone viral with a lot of support, but also a lot of pushback and hate from his like crazy army of Sims, which you will get. I've gotten in the past when I've spoken out against Hasan, but he has some ride or dies that really do attack his critics. But to me, she's just unambiguously correct. And this is somebody who's significantly progressive and an activist. And I'm pretty sure she has me blocked on Twitter and has for years because she doesn't like my takes. But I can still acknowledge that she is not wrong. Hasan is a hateful extremist. It is bizarre to have an honorary guest at your political conference who seems exclusively, or not exclusively, he also criticizes the right, but like just disproportionately dedicated to bashing the Democrats, often attacking them for like the least bad things about them, which is always hilarious to me. And then yes, has this insane past that he is also a present because he's like cosplaying Mao. How insane is it to get on stage dressed in a costume as an homage to a murderous communist who oversaw like one of the greatest, if not the greatest, losses of human life because of his policies and decision and repression in the 20th century, among many, many, many examples. It's crazy. Anyway, here's him talking about Chairman Mao, a little flashback for you, and how much he loves the authoritarian, communist, socialist, nightmarish figures of the 20th century. The worst among them is his personal fave. Let's watch.
I gotta say that I'm with Brad again because, in my opinion, this would be like frickin' Nick Fuentes going to a CPAC or TPUSA event dressed as Joseph Stalin. Like, let's say that Nick Fuentes grew out his mustache and then frickin' dressed up in the Stalin fit because he is a fan of Stalin. Or let's say that he did Hitler's like Lederhosen with a red armband and showed up to a CPAC or TPUSA event of like young TPUSA because I guess they're the younger Republican, the younger generation. And then he does a speech, and then instead of being booed, it's raucous applause. You know? Now, I think that's entirely possible, by the way. It's within the realm of possibility. So I'm not trying to say like, oh, Republicans are better, but I am saying, in my mind, this is identically equivalent.
Stopped by a cop who thought I was like making fun of Mao Zedong, which I never would and never will. Mao Zedong is a one of the great leaders of this world. Okay, a man who changed the entire universe, the entire planet.
Tell that to the millions of people, tens of millions who starved and died under his regime.
For real, yes. I mean, there was a lot of excesses. Let's be real,
excesses.
The People's Republic of China would not exist without Mao Zedong.
It was just excesses, guys. There was just a lot of excesses. So I'll just read you briefly from the Hudson Institute. They estimate that Mao was responsible for over 70 million deaths in peacetime, more than any other 20th century leader. This is particularly from the Great Leap Forward, his attempt to rapidly industrialize China in the 5 years between 1958 and 1962. The authors that they're referencing here argued not only that the program failed, it produced mass starvation with areas of China resorting to cannibalism. But guys, he was an awesome leader. There were just a few excesses. You know what I mean? Nobody's perfect, really, when you think about it. Who among us can judge? Who among us hasn't caused a few tens of millions of deaths? Oh, wait, that's insane. Anyway, more here. Mao had said half of China may well have to die, and he was prepared for such an outcome. That reminds me of the Lord Farquaad. Some of you may die, but that's a risk I'm prepared to take, or whatever he said in Shrek. Anyway, it almost came true. 38 million people died of starvation and overwork during the leap and the subsequent famine, which lasted for 4 long years. This greatest of 20th century man-made famines exceeded the deaths caused by Stalin's collectivization of the Ukraine. As Mao told his staff, 50 million people might have to die. You can't blame me when people die. But guys, you don't understand. He's like one of the greatest leaders ever, and there were just a few excesses. This guy, Hasan Piker, is like so insane and radical beyond words, yet he is actually viewed as a rising star and being welcomed into the college Democrats. That's a 5-alarm fire. I mean, that's as if the GOP was welcoming Nick Fuentes to the stage at the Young Republicans conference. Similarly, odious and radical, extreme, and hateful figures. I think nobody would dispute that that would be an insane thing to do. But because it's Hasan Piker and he's considered culturally chic and mainstream media journalists find him hot, he just gets graded on a totally different scale and just viewed as like, oh, he's just an edgy person. No, he's a radical, insane extremist who supports mass murderers and actively foments violence on his platform all the time. So yeah, it's insane that a party would actually welcome him in. And I honestly, as much as I'm sure she doesn't like me and we disagree on almost nothing or agree on almost nothing, shout out to the Shannon Wattses of the world and the others who are calling out Hasan, because it's like you're witnessing your party go through a hostile takeover by an anti-American extremist organization. It's like, speak out now before it's too late. These people are not known for their commitment to free speech. So once they become the majority, not sure you'll be able to. Yet Hasan actually, and this I think is the most disturbing part of this entire story, is that Hasan, according to him, and I don't know if this is true, but
This is a point that I made to Pisco and Josiah, where I think Josiah and IRI and Hutch, in my opinion, are still more hostile to these people, right? And or at least they'll make some vague mouth gestures that they're hostile to these people, and so as a result, I give them a little bit more grace. I think Pisco is infinitely more friendly to these people because he thinks they're electorally necessary in order for the Democrats to win. But what I'm trying to say is, now is your opportunity to strangle this movement in the crib by saying, fuck Hasan Piker, fuck his young idealists, fuck the Hamas sympathizers, fuck the, like, if you want to be pro-Palestine in that you want a 2-state solution and maybe you want 67 borders or some shit, be pro-Palestine. I don't give a fuck. If you want to criticize the nation state of Israel and say, hey, they're engaged in all this abhorrent behavior and we should stop reporting them or supporting them, I don't give a fuck. But if you're going to be from the river to the sea, I'm going to wear a keffiyeh. We need a Palestinian one state where basically what we do is we dissolve the nation state of Israel. All the Jews of the region become second-class citizens under a Palestinian theocratic state, and that's actually based in good. Fuck you. This is your opportunity to say fuck you, and if you don't take it, the same way that the MAGA movement started as an insurgent movement of Donald Trump, but then over time became 55% of the Republican Party, and therefore they are constantly catered to, is the same way that you're going to have an expansion of this wing of the Democratic Party. Let's say they're 5% now, 2% now. They're going to be 10 or 20%. Shit, there's probably in another generation, they might be as high as 30 or 40%. And then at that point, they're going to be a coalition political bloc that you have to cater to. Now, one of the things that Officer Nasty points out that I think is difficult is this is a really good point, but you're preaching it at the Israel is a genocidal nation state crowd while defending the DNC. They're going to check the fuck out. Yeah. But this is where truth has to win out over bullshit, right? 70,000 dead over 3 years is fucked up. Like, Israel's fucked up for blowing up 80% of buildings within Gaza, but that's not a Holocaust similar to the Holocaust of World War II. It just isn't. Statistically, it's fucking not. Okay? So when you're in the debate spaces with the lefties who are saying, say it's a Holocaust right now, say it's a genocide right now, say that this is as bad as World War II, you got to say, fuck you, no. Fuck you, here's why. Right? And if you don't have the balls to do it now, it's going to get worse. Sorry. Anyways.
I don't believe him, given the fact that he was invited to the college Democrats, welcomed and cheered. He, oh boy, he claims that that's, most of the young Democrats are Hasanabi heads, aka Hasan Piker fans. That's his claim. In which case, they're cooked, utterly and totally cooked, be hopeless beyond repair. But let's listen and then discuss. Let's watch.
The college Dems are all basically Hasanabi heads. I know a kid running for Georgia college Dems is a Hasanabi head. Yeah. No, I realize that now. When I first got invited, I had no idea. I didn't understand what the event was like. I didn't understand what the organization looked like, but these are all like staffers and people that are, college students and stuff that are all.
No one is saying that. Hasan Piker saying that. Denham says that. Frogan says that. The creators that we're literally watching on our screen routinely analogize the nation state of Israel to Nazi Germany and Gaza to the Holocaust. So you're literally in my chat telling me no one says that while we're watching the people who say that. That's the other thing that I'm not gonna lie. What is this person's name? APAC is dead. That's another thing that really bugs the shit out of me about this problem. Pisco does it too. They fucking piss on your leg about it. You're like, hey, here's a problem. And they're like, it's not a problem. Don't worry about it. And it's like, no. This is going to be a problem, especially if you keep ignoring it. And they're like, it's not a problem. Okay.
Trying to work within the Democratic Party, but most of them are Hasanabi heads, apparently.
Oh my God, we are so cooked, chat. I mean, if that's true, and the young rank and file of the Democratic Party, the next generation of leaders, candidates, staffers, activists, fundraisers, just the apparatus that makes a party function and exist and shapes its future, if the huge swaths of them really are Hasanabi heads, aka fans of this leftist extremist who supports authoritarian mass murderers and openly, like, he calls for violence or supports violence on his stream with some regularity. Let the streets run red with the blood of landlords. Republican senators should be killed, he says over and over again on his stream. It's like, then things are even more dark and dire than we know.
I don't think that's a fully accurate representation while still catching the vibes. I'll say that Brad Palumbo is basically regurgitate. Like, wasn't the landlord comment, wasn't that to Dan Saltman like a decade ago? I'm not saying that Hasan Piker still doesn't believe that the streets should run red with the blood of landlords, but I'm just saying, like, wasn't that like a decade ago to Dan Saltman? When it comes to the killing of the Tom Cotton or whatever, Rick Scott and all that kind of stuff, there's extra levels of like nuance there, but the vibe is correct. The vibe is correct. He simps for Houthi Red Sea crisis, blowing up ships, commercial shipping in the Red Sea. He does do apologia for Iran. He does do apologia for Hezbollah. He does do apologia for Hamas. He does talk about a multipolar world. He does talk about ending American empire. He does talk about the collapse of the American empire. Yeah, fuck him. Fuck him.
The kids are not all right would be an understatement if what he's claiming here is true. And honestly, he might be slightly overhyping it because there's like a little bit of a selection bias between who contacts him and who sends him notes or who he's hearing from. But I don't really doubt it. Like, I don't really dispute it. It sounds about right, actually, when you look at the polling and you look at the preferences.
Okay. It's Republicans who built the groundwork that Democrats are all leftists, and that's culturally, we can't separate the two. Congratulations, you're getting what you wish. I never wished for this, Rob Go Slow. I don't know if you've noticed my conversations about the Republican Party over the past decade, but over the past decade, I said, who is it? I said, Donald Trump should be barred from fucking office and not considered a serious candidate because of his comments about John McCain's internment during the Vietnam War. That was 2015. I laughed when he won in 2016 because I thought that the guardrails were going to hold. Then through 2018, the economy was doing pretty well. So I was like, maybe he is a 4D chess genius. Then COVID hit, and he proved to be like the most dipshit, incompetent, whiplash, inconsistent fucking asshole on the planet, arguably causing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of deaths during COVID. He printed all of the cash that caused the inflation that he blames Joe Biden for, and he put his name on the checks while overseeing the shutdown of the American economy. So what Joe Biden gets blamed for, Donald Trump had an active hand in doing. Okay. And then the Muslim ban was like half-assed unconstitutional. The ban at the border was half-assed unconstitutional. The way that he executed his own agenda sucked ass. And Bill Barr had one of the greatest quotes about Donald Trump, which is, even if you support some of Donald Trump's agenda, he is the last person that you want executing said agenda because he will do it in such a terrible way, creating such backlash that you will set back your own political priorities for a generation by having Donald Trump take on your political project. Okay? And then this administration has even been fucking worse. PEPFAR and USAID cuts in order to save 0.16% of the federal budget. That's arguably going to kill between 300,000 and 3 million fucking people. Vile, evil, fucked up. The Iran war, vile, evil, fucked up. Even if I agree with overthrowing the regime, this war has been executed in the dumbest fucking way possible. And then, not even to mention the Epstein files. This dude is sweeping actively right now for an ephebophilic sex trafficking ring, the most powerful ephebophilic sex trafficking ring in American political history. And he's doing it right now, and the Republican Party is still running cover for him. So no, I'm not happy about the Trump takeover. I'm not happy about the Republicans labeling the entire Democratic Party communists. And I'm not happy that the communists and the socialists are taking over, or at least taking over a larger swath of territory within the Democratic Party and the Democratic zeitgeist because of unaddressed socioeconomic issues within America. So no, Rob, fuck you. I'm not getting what I want. Anyways, like the stream, share with your friends, engage with chat, super chats. You've got them, memberships. You got them. My parents also love you. Thank you for being here. I hope you're having a good time. Let's go.
Of a lot of these young left-wing people. And I fear we may be cooked, chat. I fear that we may be headed towards a country where the Democratic Party is primarily consumed by DSA-style leftism that is totally hostile to American institutions, the Constitution, and our way of life, the economic system that made us so prosperous and successful. And then the right becomes a toxic combination of blood and soil nationalism tainted with some racial animus and nativism, with also a disdain for economics, like free market economics, Reaganism, and kind of a populist European style muscular government conservatism that also wants to enforce socially conservative dogma. And so you end up with the worst of both worlds, the Stephen Miller versus Hasan Piker duo of American politics. I hope that's not where we're headed, but increasingly it does kind of look like that may be the case, in which case it's a wrap, folks. We are cooked. Well, maybe not. The American experiment shall endure and has been through a lot worse, and I'm sure we could come out the other side of it, but it's certainly, we would not be in for a good time. I don't know. That's my read of the situation. I do appreciate the progressives who are actually calling this out, but I fear it may be too late. They may have already, the Hasanabi fans have already infiltrated and are taking over. And it's really just a matter of how long the Democratic establishment can kind of hold out. But their demise and the takeover of these extremists seems to be a matter of when, not really a matter of if. That's my read on the situation. But you guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Do make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Do hit the like button while you're at it. And do consider becoming a channel member if you can. We're building a refuge. We're building an island for the semi-normal, non-extreme middle here, or just people who are open to different ideas and don't blindly pledge themselves to one of these two radical bases. Really, if that's you, then you are welcome here and needed here, because just pandering to one of those extremes is the best business model. But I do something different, so I do need support from viewers like you. Hit the join button or click the link in the pinned comment to become a channel member. With that, guys, we'll leave it there for this one and be back with more, I'm sure, real soon.
Brad is subconsciously a girl hottest. He's like, I want the center left and the center right to fucking box out the hard right and the hard left, and I'm trying to build a little island of sane people. Dude, turns out Brad Palumbo was the ultimate girl hottest. Now, rolling right along, different topic, but still Brad Palumbo, so it's probably going to be a part of the same segment. Andrew Tate finally got what's coming to him. For those of you who don't know, Andrew Tate was at one time one of the most Googled people on the planet. He created a clipping army in order to post to platforms from which he was banned, like Instagram and TikTok. And what they did is he said, get money, get bitches, pay $500 for my $500 monthly for my pimp course, and I'll show you how to use the Loverboy method in order to sexually recruit young, impressionable women, turn them into webcam models who use dildos on themselves to the entertainment of a live chat, and then become a millionaire and buy Bugattis. Well, it turns out that the internet pimp who was selling, $500 a month courses on how to be an internet pimp was a bad guy. And he used the Loverboy method in order to sex traffic women to Romania. And he's been raping people the entire fucking time, including my internet friend, Lauren Southern, but also other women who have been in relationships with him, where he always talks about how he wants to do physically abusive bullshit. Then he does physically abusive bullshit and forcibly fucking rapes them, and then gaslights them into thinking that they wanted it. So I am actually ecstatic that Miami police have detained and arrested him. And I think they are deporting him to the United Kingdom for like 38 felony and misdemeanor charges. So I want to see Brad's coverage of it. I'm actually fucking ecstatic with this news development. It's long overdue.
Take my stuff. You think I sleep with a full phone full of evidence? You think I don't wipe my phone every night? You think I'm dumb? Come get me. Arrest me.
Karma has finally come for the grifter and alleged Sir Andrew Tate. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet insanity, and more. This story has a bit of it all, actually, because we're going to talk about the arrest of Andrew Tate. Now, you may have forgotten about him because he's really faded out of relevancy, but for a while, this guy was like the next big thing. He was like an alpha male. A lot of young men sadly looked up to him, even though he was always kind of a caricature of masculinity. Big muscles, tattoos, big cars, calling women names and telling them to do this and that and objectifying them. It was always kind of like a teenage boy's idea of what a man looks like before their kind of prefrontal cortex develops. But there's always been a very dark and sinister element to Andrew Tate, which is a repeated series of very serious criminal allegations about him and against him in Romania, in the United Kingdom, and as well some related to the United States.
Gooby says, I didn't know about Brad Palumbo, and now I wish I didn't. Why? He's just a more gay version of me. He's just a more gay version of me who figured out lighting and camera angles, who figured out how to get a decent backdrop, who figured out his marketing, and who figured out how to cover current events, news, and host debates. He's just a more gay version of me. How come you like me, but you don't like Brad? Now, I do see some people saying it's because he looks like a vampiric gay sleep paralysis demon, which I think is very rude. But, he's a relatively handsome gay sleep paralysis demon. Yeah, you guys are super fucking mean to Brad. Man. Anyways.
But he, for a long time, escaped actual accountability for this, particularly in the UK, because he hasn't lived there. There have been serious accusations against him with some corroboration as well. But now he's been arrested in Miami in light of a potential extradition back to the UK to face these charges and be held accountable. And frankly, his tears are absolutely delicious, to me at least. Let's watch some reporting from CBS News on what went down. Then we'll get into some of the receipts that caused me to not, in fact, play my tiny violin of sympathy for Andrew Tate. Let's watch.
Tonight, British authorities are seeking the extradition of Andrew and Tristan Tate. The prominent influencers in the so-called manosphere were arrested by federal marshals in Miami. CBS's Christian Benavidez is there with details on the new charges. Christian.
Good evening, Jerika. The Tate brothers were taken into custody as
I need some water. I'll be right back.
they were heading to a boxing event that one of them was set to co-host here in Miami. They've indicated that they're likely going to fight those extradition charges back to the United Kingdom.
I'm sure they will.
U.S. Marshals arrested notorious social media influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate in Miami.
I'm sorry. We got to pause on that outfit. What does he wear? It's just so funny how he's like the most feminine, metrosexual coded alpha male you'll ever see. It's wild to me. Anyway.
In Miami on Saturday, stemming from recent developments in the UK. Authorities there, who already had a case against the duo, say 4 more alleged victims of the brothers came forward with accusations of trafficking, assault, child, and extreme pornography.
Bringing the total number of charges faced to 59. The charges relate to 7 victims, spanning a period from 2010 to 2017.
The men are part of the so-called manosphere, boasting millions of followers and selling online courses on masculinity. In 2022, the Tate brothers were arrested in Romania on human trafficking and exploitation charges. The case did not go to trial but remains open. Last year, the brothers...
By the way, they often claim that the charges were dropped or dismissed or that they defeated the charges in Romania. That's not exactly true. But regardless, the charges in the UK have always been very well substantiated, as we will go through. And now there's additional victims making very serious claims against these folks. This is not 1 or 2 isolated, unproven accusations. This is a mountain of accusations that are in many ways... much more believable when you view them in the context of Andrew Tate's past statements, as we will. Anyway.
Brothers left Romania for Florida, and state officials announced a probe into their activity. The Tate brothers deny all allegations. Their attorney tells CBS News the world knows Andrew and Tristan.
I'm going to pause this because the picture on screen is relevant to what was said in chat. Grassroots for 10 says, not enough people talk about how Andrew Tate's head looks like a bot circumcision. Well, they are now.
And Tate are innocent.
We've yet to be convicted of any crime in our lives ever.
The Tate brothers are set to face a judge as early as tomorrow. Legal experts have said that this will likely be a lengthy legal battle over extradition. Jerika.
Christian Benavidez in Miami, thank you.
I love that bit at the end there where they're like, well, we have yet to be convicted of any charge. Okay, that's why they want to bring you back to the UK. To put you on trial, babe, and they should be allowed to. He'll fight the extradition, but I think the U.S. government should absolutely cooperate with and support him being extradited, him and his...
So, I know that a ton of you hate the Republican Party. Even my conservatarians probably hate the Republican Party, but I will point out that on occasion, there will be Ron DeSantis or Marco Rubio or Mitt Romney or... even not JD Vance. What's the guy before him? The guy who liked to electroshock gay people. You guys know who I'm talking about, the Indiana guy. Anyways, the point is that like they will on occasion show a fucking spine. And you guys might have missed this, but Ron DeSantis actually did a speech where the Tates were coming to Miami and they were like, we're coming to Miami and we're going to take over and we're going to be like red pill advocates for the Republican Party and we're going to help out Trump and this, that, the other. And Ron DeSantis did a speech where he was like, don't come to Florida. We will, if we find that you committed a crime, we are going to detain, arrest, and prosecute you to the maximum extent of the law. while we are, supportive of Trump and supportive of the right-wing agenda, these people are vile, amoral, immoral, psychopathic, sociopathic pieces of shit. And if we catch them breaking any laws whatsoever, we're going to fuck them up. And within like a week, they left. So I'm actually like a fan of autist Ron. While Ron DeSantis has done some questionable policies, environmental policies, he's actually terrible on, by the way. He's not an environmental conservative, unfortunately. But anyways, there's some fucked up shit that he's done, but I would still infinitely prefer DeSantis over Trump. And so I was kind of cheering for autist Ron in the primaries of the Republicans. And I would have voted for Ron DeSantis and or Nikki Haley in the primary if they had stayed in through the primary. Unfortunately, I think they dropped out by the time the Floridian primary was available. Anyways, so I just wanted to remind you that some Republicans have some principles on occasion, and fuck the Tates.
His brother to face these charges in the UK because they are, I mean, this is not some witch hunt. These are serious accusations, which of course he has every right to contest, and he will have an opportunity to in a court of law in the UK. They do, in fact, have a system of due process. And so he is innocent till proven guilty, yes, but that's part of the accountability process, is that we do extradite criminals to countries that we cooperate with, like the United Kingdom, as they extradite criminals to us, and alleged criminals, of course. And I don't see any reason why we wouldn't do exactly that, given the seriousness of these accusations and the corroboration in support of them, which we will go through. But first, I just want to explain even further how little sympathy I have this dude, because for the last several years since he returned to the US, he has been actively taunting and like baiting the government to arrest him. So here was a tweet he wrote in 2025. Florida, I will be flying back tomorrow and look forward to getting arrested if you have probable cause, because every day you don't arrest me proves you're clowns talking lies for political points. At Governor Ron DeSantis, come get me if I'm guilty and charge me in a court of law.
Let's go. Let's go. Hey. Where did he go? I think he went to Las Vegas after that. And somebody's pointing out, like, why did you talk shit? Why didn't you just figure out a criminal investigation and then prosecute him? I agree. It would have been better if there were, I don't know if the United Kingdom charges were ready at the time, but it would have been better to detain, arrest him, and deport him to a country of origin that had criminal charges against them. I would have fucking loved that shit. People are asking if the Trump administration, because allegedly they interceded on his behalf in order to get him travel status with the Romanian government where he's pending sex trafficking charges. I don't know. Like, the Trump administration is so amoral and immoral. It's entirely possible that some dickhead in the staff goes, hey, Trump, go help out the Tates. And it'll just be like another publicity black eye for the Trump administration. But they take black eyes all the time and they don't give a shit. So I think it's possible. But I don't know what they gain by sweeping for the Tates, because the Tates aren't as rich, powerful, or popular on the internet as they used to. So I would be wondering what the Tates would be giving the Trump administration in order for Trump to use the federal government to release.
All right. Well, this isn't exactly that, but it's quite similar. The UK is coming to get you to charge you in a court of law. Now, what he's referencing here is that multiple high-level Florida state officials have suggested that he is not welcome, or that if he's engaged in any of this behavior in Florida, they will consider charging him. But the reason they ultimately didn't is most likely because they only have jurisdiction over what happens in Florida. And he's not alleged, to my knowledge, to have committed these crimes in Florida. So they can't just arrest him for, alleged that he did in the UK. That's not how it works. So it doesn't mean he's innocent. It just means they can only arrest you if you do something in Florida. And to my knowledge, he hasn't engaged in further crimes here, at least as of yet. But it's like, how are you going to dare people to arrest you on social media, then expect us to feel bad for you when you get arrested? Oh, I've never been convicted. I look forward to facing the charges in a court of law. Congratulations. Here you go. You got what you asked.
I love Brad. I love my gay Giga Chad vampire sleep paralysis demon. I love Brad.
For I don't know what else to tell you. That's There's a brazenness to him with which clearly he has the air of a man who thinks he is above accountability, and he is not, in fact. So I find that to be wonderful. I'm going to play you this clip of him on the Candace Owens podcast a little while back, a year or two back, where he was exactly taunting them to come arrest him, please. Anyway, let's watch that.
I'm right here in Miami. I'm right here in Miami. Come get me. Arrest me. Perp walk me. Put me on the news. Tell everyone I'm a human trafficker. You think I'm not versed? You think I'm not ready? I'm a Navy SEAL in this shit. Come get me. Raid my house. Take my stuff. You think I sleep with a full phone full of evidence? You think I don't wipe my phone every night? You think I'm dumb?
Wait,
Come get
what?
me. Arrest me.
Breaking, Andrew and Tristan Tate have been arrested in Miami.
Gotcha. It's just hilarious because he was like taunting them to arrest him and hold him accountable. And now he's facing extradition to the United Kingdom on very serious and corroborated criminal charges. So yeah, congrats. You got the attention you ordered. And did anyone else catch what he said there? You think I sleep with a phone full of evidence? You don't think I wipe my phone every night? Wait, what? You sound guilty as my dude. I don't wipe my phone every night. I've never wiped my phone in my life. Because what's there evidence of? Is that not kind of a self-own, an admission?
What are you going to do? Shoot me? Get shot? Same energy.
And to me, I have no evidence I need to wipe on my phone every night because I don't do any criminal shit. Like, it is just hard to imagine somebody who seems more obviously guilty of at least some of the accusations against him than Andrew Tate, given his own public statements bragging about doing some of the behavior he is accused of, his clear statements expressing, support for or admitting to abusing women in various ways. I don't know if any individual accusation against him is true. And like anyone, he's entitled to the presumption of innocence until it's proven in a court of law. That's all they're trying to do by extraditing him to the UK, is put him on trial, have him face the charges, face the accusers, face the evidence, and be held accountable for it, or clear his name. Now, don't hold your breath waiting for that to happen, because my prediction would be that you'll pass out, but it's possible. Like I said, it is hilarious that he taunted them to arrest him. And then, in fact, it took a little while. They're getting their ducks in a row. But then exactly that is what ultimately transpired. And we do have to spare a word for Candace Owens and for Tucker Carlson and these other right-wing media figures who, and I've been critical of this for years, they embraced Tate and gave him very softball interviews. They had friendly personal interactions with him, and then they allowed him to lie about his own charges being dismissed or found innocent or make a bunch of untrue statements on their platforms unchallenged, and didn't hold him accountable and did very softball interviews with him. That is disgraceful. If you say you are somebody who believes in traditional values, if you say you're somebody who's against pornography or any of these other things, but then you softball and essentially do PR for this person who, even whether criminal charges against him are true or not, is just on the record admitting to a lot of horrible, horrible stuff you're supposed to be against. But
yeah, even if Andrew Tate had filed his taxes, not manipulated women, not beaten women, not raped women, he's still a pimp. He's still a person who sexually recruited young women and then sold their sexuality on the internet. I have no idea why why the conservative media embraced him except for clout. That's literally the only thing that I can think of is clout, money, influence with young men. That's it. There's no other explanatory factor. He is, if you are a quote unquote conservative in any social or traditional sense, he is the antithesis of what you want men to be. So, Hedonic with the 5 says, it's nice to get a W in a world filled with L's. Yeah. Now, as some people pointed out, thank you for the 5, by the way. Some people did point out that it is going to be, they're going to have to actually extradite him first. We're going to have to wait for the Trump admin to not intervene on their behalf. Then we're going to actually have to go through the trial process. Then he's actually going to have to be convicted. And that sucks. I mean, that's obviously like a lot of hoops to jump through in order to get a just result. But I am happy that at least we have the beginnings of that process, because his guilt has been so flagrant for so long that I'm happy that we're getting even the stress. The fact that he's getting the physical stress of being incarcerated, extradited, and processed is still at least a step in the right direction. Now, I think this is Anonymous Shadow for 10 says, if cops think tinted windows are so dangerous, then why did cops make them illegal? Just let them go and nobody gets hurt. Why do cops always cry bully everyone? If cops think tinted windows are so dangerous, then why did they make them illegal? What? If they do think they're dangerous, they did make them illegal. Why wouldn't they make them illegal? And by the way, window tinting is almost exclusively, and by the way, you're allowed to have decent window tint on your rear. You're allowed to have okay window tint on your front. And then I think your front window tint is limited. But I think it is so cops can see. Why is window tint illegal? That is interesting. Because I think we have to presume that 99.9% of American civilians are not going to shoot law enforcement through giga-tinted windows. Why is window tint illegal? Window tinting is regulated primarily to ensure driver visibility and public safety. Excessively dark or reflective films can severely impair a driver's sight, especially at night. These laws also protect law enforcement and first responders by ensuring clear lines of sight into vehicles during traffic stops and accident rescues. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, B for Brian says identify the driver. I agree with you. It's just that like 99.9% of the time, people are compliant. Right? So most people pull over and they produce their license, registration, and proof of insurance when a law enforcement officer lights them up. Now, I did have some sketchy situations where, you know, like I pulled over some gentlemen who had very darkly tinted windows and they were fucking hood rats, but I don't give a shit about window tinting. And if you're going to shoot me, you're going to shoot me. So, you know, my plan is to hopefully survive long enough to pull my pistol and mag dump into your car from where the bullets are emanating. That was always my plan. So, I guess I understand why it's tinted. I guess in a more libertarian society, we wouldn't necessarily give a shit. I guess the driving at night thing is a safety concern. I don't know. Thank you for the $10. Go fight your local government about it. You sound like a libertarian, though.
Well, because he's edgy and says right-wing shit on Twitter, and you know he might bring you a brief momentary spike in views or something, you're suddenly buddy for him, or you're doing PR softball interviews. I find that to be embarrassing and disgraceful, and I think Candace and Tucker both need to be held accountable for that. As this continues to evolve with Andrew Tate, their fans should revisit some of their coverage of this and say, were you really very forthright with us about this? Did you really do your due diligence? Did you use your platform responsibly here? And in my view, the answer is no, but I think their fans should at least ask that question. I'm going to play, and this is a disturbing video, by the way. So if you are, you know, at all sensitive to these issues, you don't want to listen to this. But I'm going to play you a clip where both text messages and voice notes that Andrew Tate sent to some of the women who have accused him of crimes in the UK are recounted and shown. This is a clip from the BBC. It is shocking stuff, but I will say it does make me wonder if he will in fact be found innocent of all charges. I'll just say that. Let's watch.
Am I a bad person? Because the more you didn't like it, the more I enjoyed it. I loved how much you hated it.
Oh?
Why am I like that? Why?
Whilst we were having sex, he put his hand on my throat and strangled me until I lost consciousness.
Oh, God.
But he was still having sex with me when I kind of came back around again.
I am one of the most dangerous men on this planet. Sometimes you forget exactly how lucky you were to get by me. Would you rather me pin you down and make you do things you didn't like, or would you rather you didn't like that I was thinking I can do whatever I want to? That's what it is. I'm the smartest person on this planet.
And then the next day, one of the whites of my eyes had gone completely red. Apparently, that's kind of common in domestic abuse cases where there's a lack of oxygen in your brain. So your blood vessels like start bursting to kind of try and get the oxygen there.
Are you seriously so offended I strangled you a little bit? You didn't pass out?
But he kind of kept saying, I own you.
Oh,
you
that text says,
belong to
I
me,"
love you.
like threatening to kill me.
Chill the out. Jesus Christ. I thought you were cool.
I have seen that montage several times before. In fact, I watched the entire BBC report about all the evidence against him. And I'll just say this. It's not giving innocent to me. I'm not, of course, he's entitled to due process of law. He should not be criminally punished unless given a day in court.
I'm sorry for smirking. I'm obviously not smirking about his behavior. I'm smirking about the fact that if you have sworn written testimony from one person, and then you have messages or text messages like that, maybe they say, oh, it was actually consensual. It's a he said, she said, blah, blah, fucking blah. But when you add on the mountain of evidence of his own courses talking about using the lover boy method in order to sexually recruit and manipulate women into traveling to Romania in order to pimp them out, then you add on top of that a dozen women claiming sexual assault or rape. Then you add on top of that Lauren Southern. Actually, people tried to attack Lauren Southern. Why didn't you report it at the time? Why didn't you report the sexual assault at the time? According to her, on a social media post that I saw, she did report it at the time. So once you add cumulatively a dozen people claiming the same story of physical and sexual abuse, yeah, I start to believe the allegations. And so as a result, I am praying, because the United States government, we have the innocent until proven guilty standard. I'm sure that it's similar, if not identical, in the rest of Western Europe, but I think that they take a more, like, for instance, Germany has I think they call it an inquisitorial or interrogative model, where they don't have two sides fighting each other over the guilt or innocence of a party, but instead they actually have, like, this, they're still, like, I think they're still defense and prosecution. But basically their job is to figure out what happened based off of the facts, not necessarily defend or prosecute. And so for me, I'm fucking ecstatic to see what the European justice system does with this evidence. I really fucking am. I am praying. I'm praying that they look at the mountain of evidence that stands against Andrew Tate, and out of a totality of circumstances, they give him a serious sentence. I would be fucking ecstatic. Old School with $2 puts us over the goal. Says, sorry I'm late. I did miss the free spinalis dorsi. What's a spinalis dorsi? I don't know what that is. Feel free to explain. But anyways, fuck him is what I say.
And a trial and an attorney to represent him and all of that. And upon his extradition to the United Kingdom, he will in fact be given all of that opportunities. But I'm saying I am allowed to actually have a prejudgment about what I suspect the truth of this matter may be. And all the available past, public, current statements, recordings, documents, and evidence and testimony of everything this man has ever said and done and stood for and admitted and bragged about and advocated, all lean in one direction, really. So listen, I'm just saying, I absolutely support his extradition to the United Kingdom to face these charges. I think we need a reckoning for all the people in right-wing media who defended or buddy-buddied with this grifter. And, yeah, give him his day in court, but it's not looking good, bruv. It's not looking good, governor. Good luck to you in hopefully being held accountable at long last, Andrew Tate. That's my take on this story. That's why I find his tears, frankly, delicious. And you guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you aren't yet. Do hit the like button while you are at it. And do consider becoming a channel.
All right. So basically, I agree. I like Brad. I think he's a good egg. If you're a grill hottest and you crave more grill hottest content, I do recommend going and checking out Brad Palumbo. Obviously, he's similar to me in that I guess he's a little bit dry, a little bit boring because he has such moderate takes. But he is a handsome gay sleep paralysis demon. So if you want to stare into the loving eyes of a handsome gay sleep paralysis demon, then maybe Brad Palumbo is for you. So now I did check out the spinalis dorsi, which apparently is a cut of ribeye, and Old School is making an allusion to the fact that we call ourselves the grill hottest. So, should we do that? I think we should do that at some point. Basically, I have some things cooking in the background. Obviously, I still want to work on the rhino eventually, but I also am working on getting my neck and shoulder added to the VA, which should help me out a little bit. And then I'm cooking with Warhammer and Counterpoint Sci-Fi. So basically, if we have an excess of cash at any point, I do think I should like host a grill session at some point. I wouldn't even be the best cook. I'm pretty sure a majority of you would be substantially better grill masters than me. But I could still make some burgers. I could throw some dogs on the grill. I could throw some we could go down to some park in Orlando or something. We could do something that's centrally located, or go to DC or something and you know, do a grill session. I think that'd be fucking sick. So, long-term goal, make enough money that I can host an actual IRL grill event. That would be fun. Now, Hedonic with the 5 says, for the goal, also my new Vulcan porcelain-lined convection oven got approved and is shipping this week. She's beautiful. That sounds fantastic. That does sound beautiful. All right. Now, what I want to do is, it is 11:30. I am not leaving right now. We're going to do Geopol, and we're probably going to do Geopol for 2 hours. Okay? But I do think I want to dip out early around. So basically at 3 p.m., there's a guy, Ruth, Reuth, who I went shooting with. He's a member of DGG, but he's local to me. So we've kind of become friends. And he wants a consistent workout buddy, and he wants to work out between 3 and 4. So normally I would wrap up at 2:30. But today I think I'm going to wrap up around 1 so I can go get my hair cut. I know you guys are skeptical about my Moldovan software engineer girl. I'm not going to show you a picture of her, but I'm just going to tell you, we're having really good chemistry via text message, and she's a very pretty lady. I think you guys know that I am hung up. It's just true. I am hung up on Melissa. I like Melissa. I think I was falling for Melissa. She only lives 10 minutes away. She's a good egg. She teaches R-slurred kids. She's physically stunning. She has a phenomenal butt. She cooks excellent food. She's a caretaking person. And I wish Melissa would call me or text me. But also she said, you know, hey, I'm too busy with my parents being sick. We're not together anymore. Fuck off. So if I could go date a beautiful software engineer Moldovan woman, then I'm going to go do that. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go do that. Because I think one way to get over heartbreak is to find somebody else that you also find incredibly attractive and cool and interesting and smart and fun. So, yes. So I think I'm going to go get a haircut at 1 p.m. No, she literally teaches people with severe cases of autism, like non-functional, non-verbal autism. Yeah, she literally, she takes care of physically disabled people. She's a phenomenal human being. So, handle your emotions like a man, go shoot something. No, I did handle my emotions like a man. I suppressed them for 2 weeks. I crashed out. I wept for 2 or 3 days. I mourned my loss. I got over it-ish. And then I'm going on a date with a beautiful woman who's going to harvest my organs. I think that's pretty normal for a man. You know? Coping with heartbreak by going and dating another beautiful woman. I think that is a common coping strategy. So, what's a better teacher? A history teacher or a substitute history teacher? A substitute history teacher, because she or he doesn't give a fuck. Yeah, that's how Connor and Melissa met. He was one of her students. True. Okay. That was an awesome rebuttal. Now, I'm curious, okay? I think Sarcasmatron is a excellent video essayist, but I don't know if he has anything recent. Therefore, he might not be who I want. I think Perun is very good, and he does have recent shit, but I also think he's incredibly dry. So I would do Ukraine's naval blitz for sure. I would 100% do Ukraine's naval blitz as content, or I would do Ukrainian equipment resupply. That's what I would do. Or I could do from Crimea to Konstantinivka, logistic strikes in Ukraine's fortress belt. Perun, and then the other option is GDF. There's plenty of other options. Matter of fact, I'm like open to shit. But I'm also open to GDF is like a leftist geopolitical video essayist. And so I wouldn't mind watching Hollywood and 9/11 or Israel, a terrible ally. So, because then we would get to do geopolitical shit and I would get to yell at leftist shit. So realistically, I kind of want to do GDF, but I want to give you guys options. So, content. Let's do GDF, Israel, bad. And then we could milk Doobie because Doobie fucking hates Israel. GDF, Hollywood, 9/11. Because that actually sounds interesting as well. Perun, Ukraine. Or, what is it? Sarcasmatron, random. So I'm going to start a poll in reference to whatever we're going to do for Geopoll. And then it is time on deck is 11:40. Like I said, I'm probably going to dip around 1 p.m. because I want to get my hair cut. I want to be fancy for my date. So when my kidneys get harvested, I look really ridiculously good looking. So, damn, Sarcasmatron random is winning? Fuck. Damn it. I was really hoping that GDF was going to win. Okay, let me take a look at let me just thank all the people who donated today real quick before you guys disappoint me by forcing me to do Sarcasmatron. So, Hedonic Samuel with the 5, Old School with the 2, Anonymous with the 10, Hedonic with the 5, Grassroots with the 10, Sapient with the 100 DKK, Jake with the 10, Vazraka with the gifted, Doobie with the 10, Officer Nasty with the 2, Fashion 40 with the 5, Airborne Kite with the renewal, and Fell Runner with the 10. Thank you, kings and queens. We did peak out around 70. So weirdly enough, I do think that some fucking people are creeping back in. The reason why I think that's funny. Okay, so yeah, somebody said I think it was Fell Runner. He actually said 75 peak today. Let's go. So he sent that to me in a DM. Listen, the reason why I think that's funny, okay? The reason why I think it's funny is because over the past month, obviously the drama affected viewership and we dropped down to 50, which is fine. The true cog has always been 50, so it's not a big deal. I don't, that's been the true cog anyways. But we did lose some like soldiers along the way too. We lost, unfortunately, I haven't seen Patriarch. I hope he's doing okay. I hope he's not like getting bombed or anything. I know the conflict in Ukraine has escalated and he is, I think he's in Kyiv. So I hope he's doing okay, regardless of our personal disagreements. And then, what is it? And then we did lose Christian Valeris, unfortunately. So those are two like veteran community members who we lost in the beef. But what I've noticed, because basically on a slow day, 50 is the true cog, 80 is where we would end up. And then, what was the other thing? Basically, like if we were hitting like a spicy drama that was like, this person had sex with this person and this thing imploded, then we would hit 150 to 300 because it was spicy drama, right? But realistically, the community is already always around 80. So the reason why I like us creeping back up to 80, even when we're just covering random content, is that means that some of the liberals and conservatarians who might have drifted away because they didn't like the drama, they're creeping back in. They might not be chatting because they don't want to admit that they've crept back in. They're not chatting because they don't want to say, oh, I fucking hated your guts for the past month, but realistically, I'm bored, so I'm coming to check out the content anyways. I think that's funny. So welcome back. Welcome back to you 20 to 30 traitorous fucks. Anyways. Now, unfortunately for me, it does look like Sarcasmatron won. I would have loved to have used GDF Israel bad content in order to milk Doobie for Israel bad dollars. But unfortunately, I'm a man of the people. And so as a result, I'm going to scroll through Sarcasmatron real quick and see if we can find something interesting. So we have Ukraine 4 years later, but that was released 6 months ago. Oh, overriding with the oil. Fuck democracy. I listen to money. Let's go. Let's go. I'm sorry for laughing so hard. Oh my God. I'm not going with the vote. Are you kidding me? Fuck that. You think I don't respond to oil? Fuck that. If somebody wants to contradict your oil, they are welcome to, right? If somebody wants to go, fuck Doobie, you know, I want Sarcasmatron. Here's $60 in order to counter Doobie's $50. I'm open to a bidding war amongst Oilers. But if the Oilers are not interested in countering the nefarious influence of Doobie, it is what it is. Democracy talks, but so does money. Much like our maligned republic, right? Much like our maligned republic, I respond to the will of the people, but I also respond to the will of my donors. Sorry for having such a fucking evil laugh, but I am finding it ironic. Oh shit, it's snarking time. Yeah, but we're gonna be... See, that's so funny too, because we're not even snarking other Twitch and YouTube political creators. We're snarking the nation state of Israel. All right. Let's do it. Funny and classic. Let's go. All right, let me play the audio real quick.
More than 60 Israelis have been arrested or detained, either under the new Patriot anti-terrorism law or for immigration violations. Even prior to September 11th, as many as 140 other Israelis.
Okay, so let's do this. Hi guys, welcome to Counterpoints. My name's Connor. I'm a science fiction, politics, and philosophy nerd, a Marine Corps and law enforcement veteran. I would argue a real Republican, and I'm trying to be a rhino, which is a Republican who is honest, has integrity, nuance, and objectives. It's hard some days, but we do have a geopolitical segment for you. It's called Israel, a Terrible Ally by the leftisty geopolitical commentator GDF. I did enjoy their Iraq coverage because while I do think they covered a substantive amount of the narrativization of the Iraq war, I feel like they had lies of omission that I was able to challenge in real time and criticize. And so as a tepid Zionist, somebody who does not agree with the expansion of the state of Israel, but does believe in the perpetuation of the nation state's continued existence, I'm excited to check out this video that is probably going to be harshly critical of Israel as a nation state. Let's take a look.
Since September 11th, more than 60 Israelis have been arrested or detained, either under the new Patriot anti-terrorism law or for immigration violations. Even prior to September 11th, as many as 140 other Israelis had been detained or arrested in a secretive and sprawling investigation into suspected espionage by Israelis in the United States.
A recent Wall Street Journal editorial appears to attribute Trump's mounting frustration with Israel to anti-Semitism, saying, in very politically charged language, "The president is making the Jewish state the scapegoat." But as we shall see, Trump is hardly unique among presidents in his recent frustration with the country. I've quoted Bob Gates in a previous video.
Few people know more about the depth and complexity of America's national security than Robert Gates.
Gates had a long career in government, serving as deputy CIA director under Ronald Reagan and George Bush, then as the latter's deputy national security advisor and later CIA director. He also served as Secretary of Defense under George W. Bush and Barack Obama. He worked with several presidents and told an interviewer in 2000, "Every president I worked for at some point in his presidency would get so pissed off at the Israelis that he couldn't speak. It didn't matter whether it was Jimmy Carter or Jerry Ford or Ronald Reagan or George Bush. Something would happen and they would just absolutely go screw themselves right into the ceiling, they were so angry. And they'd sort of rant and rave around the Oval Office." America.
That's funny. Now somebody says, Doobie has a right to defend himself. And I'll say, this content was promised to Doobie 3,200 years ago, okay? Like, all right. Now, let me bust out my Israeli brooms real quick, okay? When it comes to accusations of spying amongst allies, I kind of like to bring up the fact that we got caught spying on the European Union and United Nations on our allies. We got caught. Did we get caught with bugs in Angela Merkel's office? God damn it. The full screen thing again. Hold on. I gotta close this out and then reopen it because it did its weird full screen thing. But I swear to God, in the 2010s, if I remember correct, under the Obama administration, we got caught with like bugs in every single European allies' office at the highest levels of their government. And it was a scandal, but then a lot of people basically just like shrug their shoulders and they're like, yeah, we're Americans. Of course we're going to spy on everybody all the time. So, did we get caught spying on our European allies recently? Yes, the United States has been caught spying on European allies multiple times over the last decade, though the most damning updates regarding how it happened came to light more recently. While the espionage itself took place during the 2010s, major investigations and leaks have periodically exposed the depth of U.S. operations targeting European leaders. A major modern development surfaced when a European media investigation revealed that the U.S. National Security Agency used a secret partnership with Denmark's Foreign Intelligence Unit to spy on high-ranking officials in neighboring European countries. The operation, known as Operation Doonhammer, an internal Danish intelligence report concluded that the NSA purposefully eavesdropped on Danish internet cables. The U.S. intercepted data, phone calls, and text messages belonging to German Chancellor Angela Merkel, French officials, and politicians in Sweden and Norway. The fallout. The revelation sparked widespread diplomatic anger. French President Emmanuel Macron and German leadership publicly stated the spying between allies is completely unacceptable. So, yeah, like, no offense, bro, but like, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. Of course, we're going to have a more antagonistic spying relationship with Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, we're gonna keep tabs on our friends too, right?
Speaking, were primed to support Israel for a number of reasons. Of course, there was enormous sympathy for Jews following the Holocaust. Further, the popular conception of the 1948 war and the creation of Israel was one that erased the Palestinians and the Nakba, with the ultra-popular book Exodus and its film adaptation serving as the basis of this mythology to millions of Americans. A religious resurgence in the 1950s and onward, alongside a surge of Hollywood biblical epics, came at an opportune time for the new state of Israel as well. The settlement of Palestine by Jews appeared to evangelical Christians as a fulfillment of biblical prophecy. But even religious and passionately sympathetic presidents, perhaps none more than Lyndon Johnson, would have experienced a profound frustration with the country. In the spring of 1967, Johnson pleaded with Israel not to be the first to initiate hostilities amid an escalation with Egypt. Israel launched a preemptive attack anyway, sparking the Six-Day War. "There's a picture of a sad man," Johnson said as he looked at a newspaper photo of himself on the first day of the war. When a State Department spokesman declared that the administration would pursue a balanced approach to the complicated conflict, the weight of the pro-Israel community descended on the president. Perhaps most troublingly, his close friend and principal fundraiser urged him to walk back the statement. Studio executive Arthur Krim and his wife told the president that anti-Johnson resentment was swelling in the Jewish community. The chief lobbyist for the Anti-Defamation League also reported to the White House on the disillusionment among American Jews. He too suggested that Johnson issue a statement in support of Israel. Two White House aides, speechwriter Ben Wattenberg and Deputy Special Counsel Larry Levinson, agreed. A memoir written by Johnson's chief domestic advisor describes him losing patience. Many American Jews remained anxious about reports that LBJ was displeased with Israel for precipitating the war. Johnson, nettled that he had to confront a Middle East crisis, became even more agitated by the pressure from American Jews. When he saw Mr. Levinson upon leaving the Oval Office, he raised his fist and screamed, "You Zionist dupe! Why can't you see I'm doing all I can for Israel?" That's what you should be telling people when they ask for a message from the president for their rally.
Stop. What is interesting about this, and it's not that I'm not contesting the frustration of the United States with the Six-Day War, because the popular narrativization was that there was an Egyptian buildup that led to the Israelis suspecting an imminent invasion. So, hold on. When was the Six-Day War? The Six-Day War was between June 5th and June 10th in 1967. The brief but highly consequential conflict was fought between Israel and a coalition of Arab states led by Egypt, Jordan, and Syria. For comprehensive details of the causes, outcomes, and the conflict, read the full whatever. Now, was there a military build-up by Arab states prior to the Six-Day War? Yes, there was a significant and well-documented military buildup by Arab states prior to the Six-Day War. In May 1967, Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser expelled United Nations peacekeeping forces from the Sinai Peninsula and amassed approximately 80,000 troops and 550 tanks along the Israeli border. Egypt also closed the Straits of Tiran to Israeli shipping, an act considered a casus belli by Israel. This escalating deployment of Arab forces triggered a severe crisis for Israel. The military buildup was accompanied by a pact of mutual defense signed between Egypt, Jordan, and Syria, placing their armed forces under unified Egyptian command. In response to this encirclement and the economic blockade, Israel launched a preemptive strike on June 5th, 1967, targeting Egyptian airfields and initiating the Six-Day War. So hold up. Was there Jordanian and Syrian military build-up prior to the Six-Day War? Yes, there was a massive and coordinated military buildup by both Jordan and Syria leading up to the Six-Day War. By May 1967, following Egyptian President Gamal Abdel Nasser's mobilization in the Sinai, the surrounding Arab nations rapidly moved their forces towards Israel borders. Syria massed 50,000 troops on the Golan Heights. Jordan massed 56,000 soldiers and 270 tanks. Jordan also signed a mutual defense pact with Egypt on May 30th. Sorry. So Lyndon Baines Johnson being pissed, sure, it would be great if Israel didn't throw the first punch. But from an Israeli perspective, so we have 80,000 Egyptian troops in the Sinai. We have 56,000 Jordanian troops on the West Bank. We have 50,000 troops in the Golan Heights. And we have 3 of our neighbors signing a mutual defense pact, meaning that they are a coordinated military, meaning that you are looking at a combined military force of 186,000 troops on your border. That's an existential threat. Of course, that's an existential threat. If 200,000 Mexican troops massed on the Mexican border, or if 200,000 Canadian troops massed on the Canadian border, we of course would be looking for a diplomatic solution, but I don't think anybody would give a fuck if we fuck them up. So, if you guys, want to side with GDF and say, oh, this is just the Jews, being bloodthirsty fucking monsters, you guys can say that. But I'm saying as a matter of pure pragmatism, if a third of your ethno-religious group got wiped out in the 1940s, and then in the 1960s, half of your population is in a newly established nation state, and then 200,000 hostile troops assemble on your border, you'd probably do the exact same goddamn thing. So there's my sweeping for the state of Israel. Happy to hear your responses in chat.
Levinson stood there, shaken to the marrow of my bones. Johnson was a lifelong Christian Zionist. As President of the United States, however, Johnson was driven to an emotional outburst over accusations that he wasn't sufficiently pro-Israel. Johnson's domestic advisor immediately followed this story with the Israeli attack on the USS Liberty. On June 8th, the American spy ship was the target of an hour-long attack by Mirage jets, missed air bombers, and torpedo boats. The Israelis claimed they did not intend to attack the ship and that it was a case of mistaken identity. 34 American sailors were killed and 172 were injured. He references a National Security Council meeting where Clark Clifford, then...
Sorry, that is interesting. What is the timeline for the Liberty? When was what date was the USS Liberty attacked? June 8th. And when was, June 8th, 67, right? June 5th and June 10th. So Israel was in active combat operations against its enemies. And I remember a couple of things when I researched the USS Liberty incident. Number one, regardless of whether or not it's some Israeli gay op or some shit, I don't know. I don't care. It was 50 fucking years ago. If you guys want to get pissed about the USS Liberty, then go ahead. Okay. Now, the two things that I do remember was, number one, they radioed it in as an Egyptian destroyer that had recently shelled an Israeli position in the Sinai and then started steaming north. I thought this was around the 6-Day War. I didn't know it was during the 6-Day War. That already puts heightened tension on the incident. And then not just that, but basically there was an American translator who spoke Hebrew who was listening to the radio comms of the Mirage fighter jets, and he did believe that it was a case of friendly fire. Now, maybe due to Jewish sympathy, he was sweeping for the nation state of Israel. Maybe. But I do remember reading the radio comms. It was basically like an AWACS plane. I don't know if you guys know about this style of plane. Give me a second. AWACS. I don't know if they had this at the exact time of the conflict, but basically the United States has had similar planes to this. It's basically a signals intelligence radar gathering plane that is capable of basically tracking everything with an extremely huge radar dome, but also of coordinating communications. So I'll let it play out.
And head of the president's Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board complained of the egregious manner of the attack. It was inconceivable that it was an accident, he said, after which he called for punishing the Israelis responsible, to which President Johnson was 100% in agreement. Johnson's domestic advisor writes, publicly, however, LBJ did not dwell on the incident, stoically accepting an Israeli apology and reparations. Clifford wrote in his memoir, somewhere inside the Israeli government, somewhere along the chain of command, something had gone terribly wrong, and then had been covered up. I never felt the Israelis made adequate restitution or explanation for their action. At the same time, though, I did not believe this tragic incident justified a break between the U.S. and Israel. The heads of the CIA and NSA agreed with Clifford, as did the Secretary of State, who thoroughly demolished the Israeli version of events. According to the chief counsel to the Navy investigation, he and the admiral who led the probe believed it was a deliberate attempt to sink an American ship in order to kill them all. They were ordered to conclude in their report, however, that it was a case of mistaken identity. Quite shamefully, Johnson reduced the number killed to 10 in his memoir. When Thomas Massie recently commemorated the anniversary of the deadly attack on American service members, he was criticized by fellow Republicans. Dan Crenshaw, who represents the 2nd Congressional District of Texas, wrote, "The USS Liberty incident is a tragic one, but it's an incident with a clear conclusion if one uses any objective analysis of the facts. The facts led the Johnson administration and the most senior officials in the intelligence community to conclude that the attack was deliberate." Aside from Israel expanding its territory, another legacy of the Six-Day War is the U.S. becoming their principal arms supplier. Indeed, Johnson's presidency is especially consequential. From then on, each president expressed annoyance with the Israelis in one way or another.
Hold on. Can I make this even more anti-Semitic? Can I make this even more anti-Semitic? Because we're omitting a key reason for why Lyndon Baines Johnson is in the White House in the first place, right? Which is the assassination of Ronald Fitzgerald Kennedy. Wait, is it Ronald? No, sorry. Jeffrey Jackson. Jesus Jebediah. What? Jack? John. It was John. I've literally heard RFK Jr. so much recently, I forgot that it was John Fitzgerald Kennedy. All right, anyways. So the point is that allegedly, according to some people who are skeptical of the Israeli nation state, the guy Ruby who killed the actual assassin, okay, his real name was Rubenstein, okay, so it was because there's multiple sources for this that are very like vague, but if you went with the maximalist narrative, there was a CIA cell that was pissed about JFK abandoning the Bay of Pigs, and they recruited Israeli mafia from Chicago that Jack Rubenstein was clicked up with. They recruited a Soviet sympathizer assassin in the shooter, Lee Harvey Oswald. And so they had Lee Harvey Oswald kill JFK because he betrayed the CIA for the Bay of Pigs. But then they also hired Jack Rubenstein, a member of the Israeli mafia, in order to kill the assassin so they could cover up the CIA connection. And then not just that, but the Israelis also, it was a joint Mossad, joint CIA operation, because the Israelis were pissed that JFK was trying to limit the Israeli nuclear program. Oh no, his name is actually Rubinstein. I'm not kidding. See, that's the funny thing. If you take like a minimalist narrative, what was Jack Ruby's real last name? Jack Ruby's real birth name was Jack Leon Rubinstein. I'm not even kidding. That's literally his fucking name. So if you take the minimalist narrative, then fucking Lee Harvey Oswald was a Soviet sympathetic dickhead who acted by himself. And Jack Ruby was trying to prove that Israelis are proud American patriots. And he actually killed Lee Harvey Oswald out of a sense of revenge, which weirdly enough lines up with kind of like the narrative around his actions at the Dallas police headquarters. But if you take the maximalist narrative, it was a CIA Mossad joint operation to use a Soviet sympathizer to kill JFK and then use an Israeli mobster or a Jewish sympathetic mobster in order to eliminate the possibility of the CIA connection. Yeah. Yep. Few anti-Semites going hard in chat, but I'm more sympathetic to the minimalist narrative. There are 2 or 3 people in chat who are sympathetic to the maximalist narrative. I'll put it that way.
Nixon wanted them to withdraw from the Suez Canal, which was closed as a result of the war. In May 1971, he expressed his frustration in a conversation with his chief of staff.
The United States at the present time is the only country that is supporting Israel. There ain't nobody else now. None. They're both the United States only. I got that. We just can't continue that way. The Israelis are sitting there right now on this locker open Suez, just sitting tight, not doing a damn thing. We've got the pressure, and we're going to. We've gone too far, and everything.
His words are remarkably similar to those of Vice President J.D. Vance, who recently claimed that the U.S. was Israel's sole remaining ally in the world.
If I was in the cabinet of the Israeli government, I might not be attacking the only powerful ally that I have anywhere left in the entire world. Donald J. Trump is the only head of state in the entire world who is sympathetic to the nation of Israel at this moment in time.
More than 2 weeks later, he told his Secretary of State that unless we get some kind of settlement now with the Israelis on the Suez or some other issue, even though the Israelis don't think this can happen, another Mideast war is inevitable.
I want to read this in its entirety. In sum, I'm convinced that unless we get some kind of a settlement now with the Israelis on the Suez or some other issue, we aren't going to get any kind of settlement until after the 72 elections. By that time, even though the Israelis don't think this can happen, the Soviets will have no other choice but to build up the armed strength of Israelis' neighbors to the point that another Middle Eastern war will be inevitable. This is sound geopolitical analysis, don't you think? This is Cold War geopolitical analysis, that effectively the Suez has remained a choke point for international trade. This is kind of what I love about geopolitics, by the way, because geography is determining the actions of nation states, both diplomatically and militarily. And the United States is so entrenched in turning Eurasia into a protectorate that even though the Suez Canal is on the other side of the world, it is imperative to us that it reopens so trade can be normalized, so our geopolitical rival and enemy, the Soviet Union, is not incentivized to arm rivals and enemies of the state of Israel in the Middle East and North Africa. God, I fucking love geopolitics. Seriously, man. Like, I'm just going to show you this map real quick. Israel, Google Maps. And I'm going to wax philosophical about geographic determinism for a second. This is the Sinai, where Moses marched through, 3,200 years ago. This is Judea, Samaria, and Israel, and like the 7 tribes of Israel or whatever. that existed also 3,100 years ago. This is Egypt, one of the longest running civilizations in global history because of its stable flow from the Nile. And so as a result, this being located at the crossroads of humanity, it's why the Abrahamic faith exists. It's why the Suez Canal exists. It's why geopolitical trade between Eurasia, this has been like the focal point of conflict between Europe and Asia for millennia. And what's interesting about the Crusades is that part of the reason why the Italians were motivated to be the logistical backbone of the Crusaders was because the Ottomans, I don't know if they were the Ottomans at the time, but the caliphates were charging extortionate rates for the imported goods coming from China and India. And so that's partially what motivated Italian merchants to back Christian crusaders into getting a foothold in the Middle East. And not only that, once the Christians had been sufficiently pushed out of the Middle East and North Africa, what motivated Portuguese and naval sailors to cross the Atlantic Ocean and discover the United States of America, well, not the United States at the time, but discover the Americas, was their desire to bypass the Middle East and North Africa. Dude, geography is so fucking cool. Geopolitics is so fucking cool. History is so fucking cool. History. It rhymes.
He turned out to be right, though his decision to arm the Israelis with a massive airlift led to a Saudi-led oil embargo that quadrupled the price of crude. The move contributed to rising inflation, which...
And this is what birthed neoconservatives. Dude, neoconservatives, a substantial amount of them intellectual Jewish people who were sympathetic to the state of Israel. But neoconservatives are also famous for wanting a strong hand in world politics through hard and soft power. And conflicts with Middle Eastern and North African nations over their oil exports is what spurred the neoconservatives into popularity in the 70s and 80s and birthed the Republican Party as we knew it through the 90s and the thousands. It's all connected. Hold on, I'm going to play a cringe clip that I want Arthur to keep in here. It's a circle, Chuck and Larry. Hold up. Where's the audio?
The lings are a symbol of eternity. Because in the ling, there is no beginning. There is no end. Because it's a circle.
That's how I feel about history.
Which reached 12%, and the economy sank into recession for years. Nixon's National Security Council made concerns about such an airlift known. The CIA director said that Israel was simply trying to obtain the maximum military aid, not so much for the war as for the period afterward. The Deputy Secretary of State agreed. The Secretary of Defense said meeting Israel's requests and thus turning around a battle that the Arabs were winning might blight our relations with the Arabs for a long time. He also distinguished between defending Israel's survival and maintaining its conquests from the 1967 war. Others agreed. They were overruled. A warning from oil executives was no use either. Though Nixon was initially reluctant, he decided to go forward with the airlift, which followed considerable pressure from lawmakers and newspaper articles. For the latter, Nixon blamed Israeli diplomats. Nixon had complained months earlier that Israel's...
Hold on. When did the Nixon airlift to Israel happen? The Nixon airlift to Israel, codenamed Operation Nickelgrass, took place October 14th to November 14th, 1973, during the Yom Kippur War. President Nixon ordered the massive aerial resupply on October 12th after Israeli forces suffered severe material losses. Hold on. When did Golden Meir threaten to use nukes? Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir never directly threatened to use nuclear weapons. During the Yom Kippur War in October 1973, Defense Minister Moshe Dayan proposed preparing a demonstration nuclear strike to deter advancing Arab forces, but Meir explicitly rejected and overruled his request. All right, so hold on. Did Golda Meir ever allude to using nukes if the U.S. failed to resupply Israel? I think this is another narrative. Yes, Golden Meir has been widely reported to have authorized a tactical nuclear alert during the 1973 Yom Kippur War to ensure the United States would resupply Israel, though she explicitly rejected the actual use of it. The nuclear alert. On October 8, 1973, facing severe battlefield setbacks and depletion of conventional weaponry, Prime Minister Golda Meir and her cabinet authorized the assembly of 13 20-kiloton tactical nuclear warheads on Jericho missiles and F-4 Phantom aircraft. This move was deliberately made detectable to signal the U.S. and urge President Richard Nixon to initiate the fucking resupply. Holy shit. Dude. Give me resupply or I will use tactical nukes on invading Arab armies because I will not be able to defend our current borders. That is a spicy meatball, bro. That is a spicy meatball. I wonder if GDF is going to mention that.
This lobby is so strong that Congress is not reasonable. Henry Kissinger later admitted that a proposal for Israel to withdraw its troops from the Suez Canal would have prevented the war altogether. Despite the large Israeli losses in the 1973 war, with more than 2,000 soldiers killed, the Israelis still stalled on withdrawing from Egyptian territory for years. This made Nixon's successor Gerald Ford mad as hell. Little has changed, apparently, as Ford surmised that the prime minister was afraid of his cabinet. In one of the lowest points of U.S.-Israel relations, Ford directed a, quote, reassessment of U.S. policy between them. He was deeply disappointed, he told Israel's prime minister, with the country's conduct during negotiations. Pro-Israel stalwart Jacob Javits walked into Kissinger's office, who was now Secretary of State, and threatened him. 76 of the Senate's 99 members signed a letter openly challenging Ford's reassessment. The letter bothered Ford, who said that the Israelis were now confident that they had the backing of more than 3/4 of the Senate. Therefore, they had all the leverage and refused to budge. Though Ford said in his memoir that he wouldn't give in, he did. Months later, the U.S., Israel, and Egypt agreed to an Israeli troop disengagement from the latter's territory. But Israel won important concessions in a framework that would characterize the so-called peace process for years to come. The president informed the Israeli prime minister that, should the U.S. desire in the future to put forward proposals of its own, it will make every effort to coordinate with Israel its proposals with a view of refraining from putting forth proposals that Israel would consider unsatisfactory. Far from being a mediator, the world superpower would be representing Israel in future negotiations. As revealed in his diary and memoir.
So what's the charge here? Eating a succulent Chinese meal? I'm sorry for laughing. I know this has geopolitical consequences, and if you're sympathetic to the Arab-Palestinian or Muslim-Palestinian narrative, if you're sympathetic to the Middle Eastern and North African narrative, then this is probably very upsetting to you in order to say that, in order to say that Israel has disproportionate influence for a nation state its size, and considering its lack of natural resources. That's one of the ironies of it. If Israel was sitting on a sea of petroleum, then I would understand this even more. But Israel is not sitting on a sea of petroleum. It's just in the Eastern Mediterranean, which is north of a few countries that are sitting on a sea of petroleum. So if there was a rational self-interest, we would say, nah, Israel should be destroyed. Fuck it. Let all the Israelis move to the United States. They can set up new Israel in Utah. They can set up new Israel in Alaska. That would be like the materialist analysis. But very clearly, there's a historical, religious, and cultural component to this where American sympathy to the Jewish people post-World War II is used. You can say nefariously, I can say logically, is used to gain American sympathy for the nation state of Israel and therefore military, commercial, and economic aid for a fledgling state in the Eastern Mediterranean surrounded by hostile countries. But, they are smart enough to develop nukes. So, now I wanted to point out, I think Miradol said that I am mad that Connor has identified social democrats as further left than progressives. Now, what I would say is liberals are typically mixed economy capitalists. We just argue about capitalism from degree. As a matter of fact, I would say there's liberal social democrats. People who prioritize freedom over the welfare state. They just think that a robust welfare state is important. And then I would say that there are free market or mixed economy progressives. They're just progressive on social issues. So the reason why I put social democrats further to the left is because it's purely economics, right? Progressive equals love the gays. Yeah, relatively speaking. Loves the gays, loves the blacks, loves the Hispanics. Weirdly enough, they probably hate the Jews and love the Palestinians. But, progressives are weird. What do you want to do? So what I did is I updated the COG, the community that I am trying to cultivate, of sane liberals, sane progressives, sane never Trump Republicans, sane neocons, sane contrarian writers, and MAGA people that we can break away. I added that liberal sockdems can be a part of the COG. They just kind of need to be as liberal as they are social democratic. Now, Phil KOE popped in with a couple of paragraphs, so I want to read because Phil is, we disagree on a lot, but he's a good guy. Connor, have you done much research into dispensational Christianity, the Scofield Reference Bible, and their influence on American Christians making the creation of Israel possible? I haven't. I've heard of it, but I haven't. Doobie, or KOE says, Doobie, that's why as pastor, I hold to strict covenant theology. I view the Christian church as the inheritor of the continuation of the biblical Israel, Romans 9:6-8. Yes. That's where Christian nationalism can oftentimes be opposed to Zionism. Another irony being explored in chat. Let's continue, though.
Jimmy Carter was incensed with Israel's prime minister at Camp David. Menachem Begin insisted on keeping settlements in Egyptian territory, and the American president angrily accused him of lying about annexing the West Bank. An agreement was reached at the last minute. No thanks to Begin, Carter wrote. When the Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and the Israeli Prime Minister, Carter wrote in his diary that Sadat deserved it, but Begin did not. Carter later expressed frustration with his inability to negotiate with the Palestine Liberation Organization, which was quickly being recognized internationally as the representative of the Palestinian people, with the group gaining observer status at the United Nations in 1974. The following year, Ford pledged to the Israeli Prime Minister that the U.S. would not negotiate with the PLO. When Carter's UN ambassador Andrew Young met with the head of the UN PLO delegation, the Israelis spied on the meeting and leaked the details to Newsweek magazine. The Atlanta Constitution newspaper first broke the story of the Israeli intelligence operation. As a result of this op, a scandal ensued. Young tried to cover his tracks and told his boss at the State Department that it was a chance social encounter, but he then made a fatal mistake by meeting with the Israeli ambassador to the UN, Yehuda Blum. Armed with the transcripts of the meeting, Blum pressed Young on his story, after which he caved. It was a setup, as revealed by former Mossad case officer Viktor Ostrovsky. Now Blum had Young's version of events, which contradicted what he told the State Department, and duly reported him. Young was forced to resign. Carter later recalled, "Accepting the resignation of Andrew Young was one of the most heart-wrenching decisions I had to make as president. He was a close and intimate friend, and the prohibition against meeting the PLO was preposterous, as this group was a key to any comprehensive peace agreement. He would have retained his position if he had been truthful to the Secretary of State." The rising threat of PLO recognition drove the Israelis to extreme measures. In July 1981, the Reagan administration, led by his special envoy Philip Habib, mediated a ceasefire between Israel and the PLO in Lebanon. The Israeli military went to great lengths to try to break the ceasefire, including setting off car bombs in Lebanon. Car bombs that were developed by the...
What? The car bombs were developed in the IDF Special Operations Executive Malach Hach Misvam Hach Mechdim. I'm not trying to be anti-Semitic. That's literally how it's spelled. I'm actually going to say it again, even though it sounds anti-Semitic, because it literally sounds anti-Semitic because of how it's spelled. Malach Ha Mifsaim Ha Meuch Hadim. I'm not even being anti-Semitic. I'm literally reading the words on my screen. And they involve the use of one of the earliest generations of drones. By mid-September 1981, car bombs were exploding regularly in Palestinian neighborhoods of Beirut and other Lebanese cities. One went off in Fakani Square of Beirut October 1st, killing 83 people and wounding 300, including many women who were trapped in a fire in a clothing factory owned by the PLO. Another one exploded next to the PLO headquarters in Sidon, killing 23. In December 1981 alone, 18 bombs in cars or on motorcycles, bicycles, or donkeys blew up near PLO offices or Palestinian concentrations, scoring many deaths. So, weirdly enough, I think that Doobie has oftentimes Doobie has argued with me about the distinction of the actions of nation states in reference to violence versus terrorism. And what I would say is using asymmetric warfare tools like car bombs, but then disproportionately killing civilians for a political outcome definitely moves into the category of terrorism. Because I don't view using donkey bombs or car bombs as legitimate military actions. They're just not. Now, if you want to make another distinction for intelligence services, like, because I swear to God, I'm like subconsciously exploring this in my brain right now, but like, I expect intelligence services to participate with terrorist organizations and asymmetric insurgents. Like I expect the CIA and the Mossad, and I expect MI6, and I expect whatever intelligence branch of the IRGC or whatever, I expect them to engage with terrorists and insurgents. But I would also want some additional corroboration rather than this source. Does he have a bibliography? How this was made, auto-dub, transcript. I don't see a bibliography. This guy I'm not accusing him of not having a bibliography, right? He probably does. But I am curious as to the source of these statements. So I would love to see corroborating. As a matter of fact, why don't we just use Google? Let's be lazy. In September 1981... did the IDF use car and donkey bombs to kill PLO members and civilians Yes, in 1981, Israel utilized car bombs in Lebanon as a part of a covert campaign targeting the PLO, which resulted in the deaths of hundreds of Palestinians and Lebanese civilians. However, historical records and intelligence accounts do not support the use of donkey bombs by Israeli forces during that specific time frame. Okay, so car bombs are confirmed. Donkey bombs, not so much. But, yeah. You want me to say this is bad? This is bad. Okay? I don't like this. I don't like the nation state of Israel replicating the tactics of terrorism in order to target their opponents. I would prefer they use strongly prefer the laws of armed conflict and rules of engagement in order to minimize civilian casualties. And I think a nation state that conducts itself in this way can be criticized as illegitimate. Like the stream, share it with your friends, engage with chat, super chats if you got them, memberships if you got them. Parasocial, love you. Thank you for being here.
The IDF's Special Operations Executive. The purpose of these bombings was to precipitate a Palestinian attack on Israel, which would serve as a pretext for an invasion of Lebanon. But Yasser Arafat, the leader of the PLO, honored the ceasefire. On June 3, 1982, members of the Abu Nidal organization approached the Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom. One of the men shot him, but he survived. Begin received his pretext and ignored his own intelligence personnel, who tried to tell him that the PLO had been behaving for a year since the American-initiated ceasefire of the previous summer, and that the ambassador had been shot by a member of a dissident fringe Palestinian group, which itself wanted to eliminate Arafat. "They're all PLO," Begin proclaimed. Reagan already had problems with Begin. When the president tried to sell radar planes to Saudi Arabia, he said Begin went to Capitol Hill and began lobbying very hard against me, the administration, and the AWAC sale. After he told me he wouldn't do that. I didn't like having representatives of a foreign country,
Hold on. To sell it to who?
"They're all PLO," Begin proclaimed. Reagan already had problems with Begin. When the president tried to sell radar planes to Saudi Arabia, he said Begin went to Capitol Hill and began lobbying very hard against me, the administration, and the AWAC sale. After he told me he wouldn't do that. I didn't like having representatives of a foreign country, any foreign country, trying to interfere in what I regarded as our domestic political process and the setting of our foreign policy. I told the State Department to let Begin know that I didn't like it and that he was jeopardizing the close relationship of our countries unless he backed off. Privately, I felt he'd broken his word and I was angry about it. The sale went through. We achieved our goal of sending a signal to moderate Arabs that we could be even-handed, even though Israel, in a message apparently dictated by Begin, denounced the administration for anti-Semitism and betrayal. Reagan's success on this issue didn't come about easily. I had experienced one of the toughest battles of my 8 years in Washington. Israel had very strong friends in Congress. With the exception of 2 or 3 votes on our tax and spending cut legislation, I spent more time in one-on-one meetings and on the telephone attempting to win on this measure than on any other. We had begun the month more than 20 votes behind in the Senate. We finally won by a margin of 52 to 48.
Okay. Literally, I am okay with telling the Israelis to fuck off in reference to some of this shit, right? Like I said, I am a tepid Zionist, meaning that I think the nation state of Israel has a historical and cultural claim to the territory. I think that they have fought for that historical and cultural claim for the past century. I think that they're not going anywhere militarily, particularly if they have strategic and tactical nuclear weapons. I think that any attempt by the Palestinians to overthrow and evaporate the nation state of Israel is doomed to failure. I think that its neighbors trying to do like a 7-on-1 regional war in order to destroy the nation state of Israel. I think that Israel would deploy tactical nuclear weapons in its own defense. I think that the United States has a high probability of supporting the Israel militarily during such a conflict. And so as a result, the ideal solution is a two-state solution. However, in the event that a foreign state is telling our country, who in that country is substantially militarily and economically smaller, and they try to torpedo our foreign policy, they can do so within the realms of realpolitik. But I have no problems with American politicians also engaging in realpolitik and saying, hey, Israel, you're an ally. We want to support you. We don't want Jews to be wiped off of the face of the planet. We're all tepid Zionists, okay? But when it comes to you torpedoing our foreign policy, you better shut the fuck up, because you're substantially smaller and weaker than us, and if you want a good relationship, you can eat a dick, right? So, my 2 cents. Still a tepid Zionist. God bless Israel. Ronald Reagan telling them to eat a fucking dick is the right move.
That was just the first of many problems I'd have involving the Middle East. Indeed, after Israel invaded Lebanon, Reagan dictated a message to Begin appealing to him to withdraw his forces from Lebanon, and we joined in voting for a UN resolution calling for Israel's withdrawal and a ceasefire. However, Israel's tanks and troops continued their advance, and the Israeli defense minister apparently decided that Israel now had a historic opportunity to drive the PLO completely from Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces moved on Beirut, then expanded the war dramatically. During their siege of the city, the Israelis attacked the fringes of West Beirut in what appeared to be relentless and indiscriminate bombardment of neighborhoods filled with Lebanese civilians who had absolutely no role in the Israeli PLO dispute. Israel then cut off water and electricity to these neighborhoods in West Beirut, causing the civilians more hardship. Begin arrived in Washington, where the two had a contentious meeting. Begin and I spent almost an hour going head-to-head. I told him that, no matter how villainous the attack on Israel's diplomat in London had been, it had not given Israel cause to unleash its brutal attack on Beirut. Begin wouldn't give an inch. Months went by with no end to the bombardment. In August, Reagan then appealed personally to Begin to abide by the ceasefire. If he didn't, he could expect a drastic change in Israel's relationship with the United States. The disproportionate bombing of West Beirut, my message stated, was exacting unacceptable human costs and making negotiations impossible. I insist that a ceasefire be reestablished and maintained until the PLO has left Beirut. In response, Begin had told me, in effect, to mind my own business. And despite our appeals for restraint, the Israelis on August 12th opened a new and even more brutal attack on civilian neighborhoods in Beirut that sickened me and many others in the White House. This provoked me into an angry demand for an end to the bloodletting. Here are excerpts from my diary. I told him it had to stop or our entire future relationship was endangered. I used the word Holocaust deliberately. After the phone calls, Israel reduced the intensity of its bombardment of Beirut, but its ground and air forces then began attacking populated areas in northern Lebanon, apparently with the intent of eradicating PLO strongholds in that region. This put a new monkey wrench in Habib's delicate negotiations with the Palestinians and Syrians.
I think what Doobie is trying to communicate is Israel can be dicks. I don't know if I ever disagreed with that assessment. Once again, tepid Zionist. However, yeah, that's pretty shitty. It's pretty shitty. So I want to read about Menachem Begin's popularity as an Israeli politician, and I want to see how he was remembered. Menachem Begin was an Israeli politician and the sixth prime minister of Israel, 77 to 83. His popularity amongst Israelis surged during his historic 79 peace treaty with Egypt, which won him the Nobel Peace Prize, though he was wildly opposed by Palestinians and Arab communities. And weirdly enough, didn't we just read that from Carter or whoever that Begin was like an obstruction to peace in the negotiations and he was like a huge asshole who almost torpedoed everything. A highly polarizing figure, Begin's historical trajectory shifted from a militant leader to a statesman. Militant leader pre-1948. Before the founding of the State of Israel, Begin commanded the Irgun, a Zionist paramilitary group that fought both British authorities and Arab populations in Palestine. That's unsurprising. His faction was strongly opposed by the mainstream socialist Zionist leadership, and his militant actions, including the 1948 attack on Deir Yassin, cemented widespread Palestinian opposition to his movement. I want to check out the attack on Deir Yassin. The Deir Yassin massacre. Is that the same one? It is. Opposition leader. From 48 to 77, for nearly 3 decades, Begin headed Israel's right-wing opposition. Though considered an extremist by his political rivals, his grassroots popularity steadily grew amongst working-class Israelis and Mizrahi Jews who felt marginalized by the ruling left establishment. Let's check out which one's Mizrahi. Mizrahi definition. I always forget the different ones. Mizrahi translates to Eastern or Oriental, derived from the word Mizrahi, East. It broadly refers to Jewish people and their descendants whose ancestral roots trace back to the Middle East, North Africa, and other parts of West Asia. Okay. Prime Minister. His historic 1977 electoral victory ended decades of left-wing dominance in Israel. While he achieved peace with Egypt, his tenure saw a dramatic expansion of Israeli settlements in the West Bank and Gaza, and his popularity ultimately plummeted due to the controversial 1982 Israeli invasion of Lebanon. Interesting. Okay, now let's check out the Deir Yassin massacre. The Deir Yassin massacre took place on April 19, 1948, when Zionist paramilitaries attacked the village of Deir Yassin near Jerusalem, then part of Mandatory Palestine, killing at least 107 Palestinian Arab villagers, including women and children. The attack was conducted primarily by the Irgun in Lehi, who were supported by the Haganah and Palmach. The massacre was carried out despite the village having agreed to a non-aggression pact. It included, this occurred during the 47-48 Civil War and was a central component of the Nakba in the 1948 Palestinian expulsion and flight. Okay, so this guy's a fucking piece of shit. And he deserves to be burning in hell along with a shitload of other people. Got it. Understood. Understood. Fuck this guy.
He sent a follow-up letter to Begin. In this crucial moment in Ambassador Habib's mission, when he is only a few days away from working out the final
Look up baby oven in reference to Deir Yassin. Baby oven Deir Yassin massacre. The claim that a baby was burned in an oven during the 1948 Deir Yassin massacre stems from oral testimonies. Eyewitness accounts report that Zionist paramilitary forces ordered a local baker, Hussein al-Sharif, to throw his son into a burning bakery oven and subsequently threw the father in as well. On April 9th, 1948, the Irgun and Lehi paramilitaries attacked Deir Yassin near Jerusalem, resulting in the deaths of over 100 Palestinians. This event greatly... okay. Fuck these guys. Okay? Fuck these guys. The same way that I am opposed to Hamas militants who gunned down civilians intentionally during October 7, 2023, anybody who was responsible for a similar massacre in 1948 and was, let's say that they did order an infant or a child be thrown into a fucking oven by their father, and then they subsequently burned the other person to death. Those people likewise deserve to burn in fucking hell. To be clear. My objection is about the massacre of innocents. It is not about, ethno-religious allegiance above all other considerations. But why is Geopol actually just GDF? Because... Arthur, you're going to need to come up with something else besides, I don't like the author. You're going to have to say, this is incorrect. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. This is incorrect. I'm happy to fucking fight about details. So, anyways. How has Doobie managed to capture both the drama and the Serious Geopol segments? Well, number one, we did Serious Geopol yesterday. So stop bitching. Seriously. All you fucking do is complain. For a Russian, you complain a lot. I thought your fucking people like to fucking, I thought you were like stoic survivors of life's difficulties. But you fucking complain a lot. Number two, if you're going to complain that GDF is a fucking lefty hack, then please present me with counter arguments. But so here's some of the controversial things that were asserted, just in case you're just coming in. That in 1981, the IDF used a car bomb campaign in order to disrupt negotiations with the PLO. That happened based off of a cursory internet research. Although donkey bombs are in dispute. Yabin, or whatever this guy's name is, Babin, whatever this guy's fucking name is, the Prime Minister of Israel from 1977 to 1983, him being a paramilitary see you next Tuesday, involved in one of the worst massacres in the Nakba, is confirmed by internet research. And then him being a wildly antagonistic prime minister who expanded settlements into Egyptian and West Bank territory while telling the United States government to eat a dick is also corroborated by memoirs from Carter and Reagan. So, I am ecstatic to hear counter-arguments. But it seems like, by all accounts, the Prime Minister of Israel from 1977 to 1983 was a huge piece of shit. All right. Well, anyways, good luck on reading Israel-Palestine shit. Let's go.
Detailed points of his package plan for departure of the PLO from Beirut. Israeli airstrikes, shelling, and other military moves have stopped progress in the negotiations. I find this incomprehensible and unacceptable. Israel must adhere to an immediate, strict ceasefire in place. I cannot stress to you enough how seriously I regard this situation. Our entire future relations are at stake if these military eruptions continue. Over the next 2 weeks, a ceasefire plan was developed, which would see the PLO leave Lebanon and the withdrawal of the Syrian and Israeli armies. At the request of Lebanese leaders, Reagan wrote, I agreed that the United States would send a contingent of Marines to Beirut for 3 or 4 weeks. Of course, Bashir Gemayel, the Christian military leader, was assassinated. His forces then massacred Palestinians in the refugee camps of West Beirut, which were occupied by the Israeli army. The peace plan...
So, there is a movie that I love that I would strongly recommend anybody watch. So it's called Waltz with Bashir. It is a Israeli perspective, but it's about an Israeli veteran who participated in the Lebanese war, who was questioning the morality of it. And I think it actually opens with like a nightmare sequence where, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but they shot dogs as a part of them walking up to Lebanese compounds. Right? So so basically all the dogs chase him in his nightmare. And what ends up happening is they go, they're on their tanks, they're going through the mountains or the hills in northern Israel and southern Lebanon. They make contact. Some of them are killed by snipers. They get into gunfights. They do all this kind of crazy shit. But what ends up happening towards the end of the film is, I don't know if it's his specific unit or if it's a friend of his, but his friends provide illumination flares during and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm completely misremembering the movie, but they provide illumination flares for the Sabra and Shatila massacre. And so there was a Christian militia called the Phalanges. I didn't know that their leader had been killed, but apparently their leader had been killed, and in reprisal, the Christian Phalanges militia in Lebanon massacred 2 large Arab Muslim neighborhoods, killing an estimated 3,000 people, men, women, and children, while the Israeli Defense Forces provided illumination flares in the middle of the night. So while the IDF doesn't specifically have the blood of 3,000 Lebanese Arab Muslims or Palestinian Muslims, or Lebanese Muslims, I guess is the best term, while they don't specifically have the blood of 3,000 Lebanese Muslim civilians on their hands, the militias that they enabled did. Okay? And not just that, but the American 7th Fleet providing cover for Israeli forces to withdraw from Lebanon was actually part of the casus belli, the case for war as articulated by Osama bin Laden. So it's not that the United States specifically bombed and murdered and massacred these fucking people in Lebanon. It's that Israel provided cover for a 3,000 person civilian massacre in, I think this was 82. And the United States arguably helped through their diplomatic and military support. And that was part of Osama bin Laden's justification for the World Trade Center attack and 9/11 2001. So, yeah, this is... Hate the author if you want. Contradict his arguments, please. But I feel like we're describing pretty accurate reality at this point. Moving.
Plan fell apart, and of course, Israel and Syria would remain in Lebanon for many years to come. Not only that, but the Marines that were sent by Reagan would end up in Lebanon for much longer than a few weeks, and hundreds of them would be killed. But first, in April 1983,
I have a friend, his name's Aaron, the brother of Moses. He was a Marine in 1982, 83. And he was in the Beirut barracks bombing. So he was chilling in Beirut, Lebanon, in a barracks. A truck bomb, a massive truck bomb, drove outside of the barracks and detonated. And what he said is that he was walking towards the wall, the exterior wall of the barracks, and he literally saw the concrete evaporate due to the shockwave of the explosion. And then he went unconscious. And then after he was knocked unconscious, he was in the rubble for 16 hours. And he would wake up every 6 hours in extreme amounts of pain. And then as a result of the pain, he would pass back out. And since then, he was an alcoholic. He was homeless. He got into a drug rehab facility that my ex-father-in-law ran. And him and I met, and we swapped war experiences. But I literally have a living family friend who was a casualty of the Beirut, Lebanon barracks bombing.
American embassy in Beirut was bombed, killing 16 Americans. After attending the arrival of the bodies at Andrews Air Force Base, Reagan excused himself from the usual routine of jokes for the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Nancy and I had another sad journey that we had to make before coming here tonight. Coming, as we did, from Andrews Air Force Base. If you'll forgive us, I'll keep my script, and I hope you'll give us a rain check.
But the worst was yet to come. 241 Marines were killed as they slept when a massive truck bomb demolished their barracks. Both bombings were perpetrated by a new threat, the early incarnation of Hezbollah, which had emerged as a result of the Israeli invasion. The month before the bombing, Reagan was on the phone with the family of a Marine who had been killed by sniper fire. His father asked, "Are we in Lebanon for any reason worth my son's life?" Reagan replied with the usual defense of faraway foreign interventions, which belies America's close relations with many undemocratic countries. America is a country whose people have always believed we have a special responsibility to try to bring peace and democracy to others in the world. Reagan recalls agonizing over his decision to ultimately withdraw from Lebanon entirely. If we walked away, we'd be giving up on the moral commitment to Israel that had originally sent our Marines to Lebanon. We'd be abandoning all the progress made during almost 2 years of trying to mediate a settlement in the Middle East. We'd be saying that the sacrifice of those Marines had been for nothing. We'd be inviting the Russians to supplant the United States as the most influential superpower in the Middle East. After more than a year of fighting and mounting chaos in Beirut, the biggest winner would be Syria, a Soviet client. Amid the worst of the Israeli assault,
Hold on, there was a final sentence that I wanted to read there.
the year would be Syria, a Soviet client.
Yet, the irrationality of Middle Eastern politics forced us to rethink our policy there. Nice.
Amid the worst of the Israeli assault the year before, Reagan believed that there was hope for a settlement to the intractable conflicts affecting the region. This, in his mind, included the Palestinian issue. But Reagan reflects on his presidency with what, in hindsight, seems to be a naive understanding of Israel's long-term ambitions. He believed there was an opportunity for a fresh start. George Shultz and I regarded this moment in the explosive history of the Middle East as a possible golden opportunity to make a fresh start toward achieving a long-term settlement of the region's problems. This included the completion of the Camp David Agreement, granting full autonomy to Palestinians living in the territories taken by Israel in the Six-Day War, with free elections and a 5-year transition period leading to full self-government, and a freeze by Israel on the establishment of new settlements in the occupied territories during the transition period, as we'll see Obama recommended the same thing, when there would be a peaceful and orderly transfer of authority from Israel to the Palestinians. I felt then, and still do, that Israel will never resolve its conflict with the Arabs unless it gives up some of the land won in the 1967 war in return for peace and safe borders. And that so long as Israel continues building new settlements in the occupied territories, a lasting peace will remain extremely difficult to forge.
That's politics for it ain't gonna fucking happen. Holy shit. Now, I actually loved this. Arthur, I would strongly recommend you rewind to the beginning, and if you see anything egregious. So we watched GDF in the past, and with GDF, I found that he actually did a decent narration of the Iraq War, but because I was more familiar with specific engagements and dynamics of rules of engagement and fucking this, that, the other, and specific battles, that I felt like he was doing a 30% lie of omission. So 70% of his information was good. It's factual, narrativized, chronological, etc. But I felt like he was omitting details from an alternative narrative that would help not only enrich, but also present like the American perspective. So it seemed like kind of a lot of fodder for America bad. Although weirdly enough, I think I had chatter saying that GDF is not some like leftist anti-American. He's actually a liberal. Like some people said that in chat. I don't remember. I don't know if that's true. What I would say though is that this segment I've found more difficult to argue with, not because I don't, it hasn't changed my political perspective on like tepid Zionism, American empire, kind of the way that the United States acts and uses soft power and hard power in order to project into the world. I still don't have a beef with that. I would still identify with a lot of neoconservative perspectives. However, part of being a neoconservative who is not a naive dipshit is recognizing the violence that is perpetuated in the name of this ideology. So, for instance, like with Doobie, I think I'm not trying to characterize Doobie, but a lot of lefties, and Doobie might be among them, a lot of Hasan Piker, America Bad lefties, they presume that my politics emanate from an ignorance of American foreign policy. But that's not where it emanates from. It emanates from a realism about power and how power has articulated itself and presented itself throughout world history. And so, yes, all of these things are vile. The Yassine massacre, vile. If I could find those human beings and they were still alive, I would hang that. If there was 107 civilians, men, women, and children who were massacred, and we could identify the people who committed that massacre, and if we were able to identify the people who allegedly shot and killed the father and son and threw them into fucking ovens and may have thrown them into the ovens prior to them being shot, those people should be found, criminally prosecuted, and then hung from their necks until they die. Right? That standard applies to Americans. That standard applies to Israelis. That standard applies to Palestinians. That standard applies to all of humanity. And so my frustration with this conversation is that, yes, we take sides, okay? I'm on America's side. I am tepidly on Israel's side. But being on a side does not forego your moral responsibility to behave in a just way. And that's what my frustration is with Doobie and his ilk. No offense, Doobie. But it seems like because you believe that the United States of America and its allies and its empire and all that kind of shit is unjust, that any kind of moral behavior is excusable because you're resisting. So you can do anything, any poor behavior is excusable because you're resisting the more powerful party. And I think that's cringe and arslerd and lame. Yeah. So. Anyways, it is 1 p.m. I want to go on a date with a beautiful woman. But that beautiful woman lives about an hour away from me. And so as a result, I want to look fancy for my date. And so while I technically owe you guys another hour and a half of content, I would encourage you to go find your other favorite liberal, conservatarian, or dissident right-wing creator and go give them a view. Because what I'm going to do is I am going to go to a barbershop. I'm going to get a fresh cut. I'm going to come home. I'm going to work out with a DGGer. Then I'm going to get ready for my date, and I'm going to go to my date. And I'm going to go get my kidneys stolen by a beautiful Moldovan software engineer who is interested in having drinks with me about an hour away from my house. Now, an hour is a long time to drive in order to see a beautiful woman, but I want to go see, hang out with, and talk to a beautiful woman. So, that's what I'm going to do. Let me thank the people who have donated. I do parasocially love you guys. I do appreciate your viewership, and I do appreciate your financial support. Thank you to Doobie for the oil and the interesting content. Shapingro, thank you for the gifted. Doobie, thank you for the 10. Thank you for the 50. Thank you for the oil today, King. Hedonic Samuel, I will read that super chat that just came in. Hedonic Samuel with the 5, Old School with the 2, Anonymous with the 10, Hedonic Samuel with the 5, Grassroots with the 10, Sapient with the 100 DKK, Jake with the 10, Vazraka with the gifted, Doobie with the 10, Officer Nasty with the 2, Fashion 40 with the 5, Airborne with the renewal, Fell Runner with the 10, and then Doobie with the 10 says, nah, that isn't true. What I'm trying to show you is your side is also deep in the dirt while you try to claim a moral high ground with far less moral justification for being there. It's all bad. Now, I don't agree. I am not ignorant of America's sins. I might be ignorant of some of Israel's sins. That's interesting. I'm learning some new things about Israeli sins, but I am not ignorant of American sins. I actually think that I am quite well versed in the sins of America. So, anyways. Skillwalker for 10. Cheers. Here's to Geopol and the anti-communism segments. Good luck on the date. Thank you, Skillwalker. Also, don't I owe you a conversation or some kind of collaborative feedback on some kind of creative project you're doing? DM me on Discord if I haven't responded to something that you sent to me. But yeah, appreciate you, Skillwalker. Thank you for the dono as well. Anyways, I parasocially love you guys. I'll see you tomorrow. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a beautiful day. And thank you so much for your viewership and your support. It means the world to me. I love that I get to do this as a job. I love that I get to hang out with you guys. I love that I get to pay my bills. I love that I get to yap about current events, news, and geopolitics. I love that I get to yell at people. I love that you guys get to yell at me. And I appreciate the fact that while we are a small community, we have a disproportionately educated, intelligent, and generous community. And thank you guys so much. It's awesome. It is so awesome. If I couldn't do this anymore, I would be sad, but I would still be eternally grateful for the past year and 3 months. Thank you so much.